Have we ever voted to unseal them?
I haven't.
We never have, but it's less than the time period, so we have to. And then you've got the announcement to make at the end of the meeting, so you might as well unseal them, because that's what we talked about.
Okay.
So we must have a bunch unsealed.
Most of them.
Unseal them, they just unseal.
Yeah, most of
So
them
why
are.
would we have to vote on it?
Because we're voting to unseal them early.
Ah, gotcha. Gotcha,
Less than the year time period you had originally put on it.
gotcha.
All right, it's 5 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ted, you want to lead us?
Pledge allegiance.
All right, well, to start out, looks like we have 7 meeting minutes to go through, so this will be a little bit.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes from July 25th.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
Make a motion to approve the July 25th regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? On to August 8th.
Let's see. I'll make a motion to unseal the non-public sealed meeting minutes, or approve the August 8th non-public sealed meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Now I will make a motion to make a
I
vote.
abstained, by the way, because I wasn't present.
Vote to unseal the August 8th, 2022 non-public meeting minutes.
Second those two.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right.
Make a motion to approve the August 8th regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining there as well.
Make a motion to approve the August 15th work session meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And I was there for that one.
Finally, I will make a motion to approve the August 15th non-public meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That is all of our minutes. Reminder that all regular meetings begin at 5 p.m. The Select Board will meet on the following dates: Tuesday, October 23rd, which is tomorrow.
August.
Tuesday, August 23rd, which is tomorrow, for the 2022 Campus Community Council meeting at 5:15 p.m. And that'll be in the Hage Room at the Hartman Union Building on PSU's campus. PSU is graciously hosting that community council meeting, which should be good. Good time for some Q&A for what's going on campus this fall. Hope to see a lot of people there. And then we meet again on Monday, September 12th and September 26th, right back here at our normal time. Also, we have a couple of public hearings that have been scheduled. One for Monday, September 12th at 5:15. We're going to have a public hearing on an acceptance of unanticipated funds in the amount of $127,728.21 from the state of New Hampshire for the purpose of maintenance, construction, and reconstruction of Class 4 and 5 roadways. Also on Monday, September 12th, we'll have a public hearing at 5:30 p.m. for the acceptance of unanticipated funds received to date in the amount of $10,239.33 in remembrance of Luc Besson. That's it for public hearings at the moment. And all meetings will be held upstairs in Town Hall and held by Zoom. Zoom information can be found on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. And citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify Town Hall before noon, the Friday before the scheduled meeting. This is directly our public hearing. Neil, did Planning Board also schedule a public hearing last time they met?
I don't have one.
Okay. I'm not sure what the date is, but the Planning Board will be having a public hearing, so look to their minutes for, and actually, Joseph, you may know.
Yeah, public hearings on the 15th,
September
September 15th.
15th, that'll be a Thursday night.
Thursday, 6:30.
6:30, and that's on the capital investment plan approval or proposal plan, CIP. So they'll be reviewing that, and that's the like a 10-year plan for capital. Now, we'll discuss that as a select board as well, but the planning board will be having a hearing and then adopting that. So if anybody's very interested in capital investments for the next 10 years in town, it's a good place to get involved.
There's also 2 public hearings on this draft site plan review regulations, September 1st and 15th.
Just repeating, Joseph, September 1st and 15th, there will be some public hearings around the site plan review regulation proposed changes. And do those have to go to town meeting to be approved, or will the board approve them, planning board approve those?
The board will approve.
Okay, the board will approve those. Just figured, I knew there were some public hearings happening over there. Folks should know. Town office will be closed on Monday, September 5th for Labor Day. All right, that's all of our upfront business. I do have one piece of correspondence that was addressed only to me, but I figured the rest of the board should at least see this or hear about it. I'll hand it around and throw it in the folder. But we got a letter from the New Hampshire Lottery, and we can go over the specifics. But in particular, this is related to Keno 603. Governor Sununu recently signed House Bill 355 into law, which expands the sale of Keno 603 beyond taverns and restaurants. Under the change, any location that sells lottery tickets in the city and town that voted to approve Keno 603 may choose to sell the game. So we could see Keno expand beyond just restaurants. There's a bunch more detail in here, and I'll just pass it around for everybody to take a look at. But in general, they're notifying us that Keno will be in more locations than just restaurants. All right, on to new business. Kathleen Hargraves, online? So Kathleen, we can hear you, yes. You're here to speak to us from the Pemigewasset Valley chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution? And you have a request?
Yes, I am. Thank you for your time. We have a request for a proclamation for Constitution Week. September 17th through the 23rd is Constitution Week. It is America's most important document, and we would like a proclamation from the Plymouth town. And it started in 1956 by President Eisenhower. And we plan to actually put up a display in Pease Memorial Library as well.
Any questions from the board about the request? Are other towns doing this as well, Kathleen?
I have requested from other towns as well, yes. Throughout the state, really.
How are you doing in terms of getting proclamations from other towns?
I actually heard back from Hampton today that they're bringing it to their select board tonight as well. And I'm waiting to hear back from Bristol and from Holderness.
What do we think?
Just curious, what does it mean for us to do this proclamation? What does it entail, other than accepting it?
So I've submitted a sample proclamation. It's something that we can put in the newspaper and to show that you're supporting Constitution Week, so that we can educate and promote Constitution Week throughout Plymouth and really the area.
You want a motion?
I would entertain one.
I move that we approve this request for a proclamation for Constitution Week on
I'll second.
September 17th to the 23rd.
I'll second.
Discussion, as written here, it's signed only by myself. Do you want to have me be the signatory on this, or do we want to rewrite it so that we all five sign it?
I think we should all five sign it.
That would be my preference as well.
Great.
So we just rewrite that last section of now therefore I to we,
The board.
we the select board, and then just add our 5 signatures to the end here.
That'd be good.
Sounds good.
You want to amend your
I'll amend it.
as such?
I'll still second.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Looks good. Well, that
Thank you
was
very
simple and
much.
painless, Kathleen.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I will
you.
report back to my team. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. We look forward to things in Pease Library as well. That'll be nice.
Yeah, will do.
All right. Next up, Alex Hutchins and Nathan Buffington.
Can I just give you a quick emergency management?
Oh, yeah. Why don't we? Yeah, I didn't have you on, Scott. I'm sorry. I'm gonna skip back to that first.
Real quick. I know last week at the CIP meeting, Zach, I think you were in attendance, they talked about, there was discussion about a generator at the library.
Yes.
So to give you an update on that, back when we started using the library for cooling centers and heating shelter, I submitted a letter of intent to Homeland Security Emergency Management for a grant for a generator for the library. With that being said, it's at a secondary level. It's not a primary shelter or EOC. So once those commitments are fulfilled for the primaries of shelters and EOCs, then they'll move on to the secondary, and the library is at the top of that list. So more to come on that when those grants are fulfilled.
That's great.
And then the second thing just to mention is that the police department, along with the fire department and myself, we've been meeting with the 3 schools in town, Plymouth Elementary School, Plymouth Regional High School, and Mountain Village Charter School, with regards to their emergency operation plans and their school security assessments. There was representation from Homeland Security Emergency Management, Kevin Parrington, who we spent time with each committee at each school going through their emergency operation plans and getting them updated for 2022, which hadn't been done for a couple of years because of COVID, but they're back on track with that now. So we've met with them, we have their new emergency operations plans, and they have had their school security assessment done. That's it.
Fantastic. Any concerns out of that assessment, or does it look good?
Alex?
Good. That's good news.
I think, especially with Plymouth Elementary School and Plymouth Regional High School, they were right on top of the things that had to be done, and there was 8 criteria that needed to be met moving forward in 2022. And last Thursday, we were at Plymouth Elementary School, and they had already included those into their emergency operations plan, which I think speaks volumes about how on top of it they were.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Any questions from the board for Scott before he completely disappears? Looks good. All right, back to the chiefs for an overview of an internship for Plymouth PD.
Yeah, so, we'd like to
Nathan.
start this year with a,
If you could hit the mic, keep me out of trouble.
right? Yeah, so this year we'd like to start an internship program with Plymouth State University. It's for criminal justice majors. I think we sent you an overview. But really, it's just an opportunity to work with a student. There'll be an application online that we'll have on our website, and it's for people interested in criminal justice or the field of law enforcement. Really just a way to integrate them into law enforcement. They'd work with different divisions within our department. It could be parking, investigations, patrol, but really just a way to start a partnership with the university. There is an agreement, an internship agreement between the university and the police department, which I can email you all if you want to take a look at. But we did send that off to Primex as well as the town's attorney just to take a look and make sure it was sufficient, which it was. So I think as part of that agreement, there would be somebody to sign. So I think our discussion with the town's attorney was, would that be with the board or with the police department in terms of the agreement? So I'll leave that up to you. But yeah, I mean, I think you've all had an opportunity to look over the agreement and see, our goals here.
Is it semester by semester?
Yeah,
or-
so it would be one person per semester. I don't think we could accommodate more than one. But yeah, we would choose one person per semester to come in and, do an internship. And I think the only question from the town attorney standpoint was like a workman's comp, but this isn't a paid internship. This is an educational internship. So there is no pay. They would come here as part of their program, criminal justice program with the university. So, and then the second semester or the second half of the year, there would be another student that would come in.
It's a good recruitment tool as well. So a lot of PDs use it, and eventually, once they're done their schooling, they're interested in the department because they're involved in the department.
Chief Hutchins said that it was a good recruiting tool, just capturing it for you. How many hours a week would the student be working with the police department? Is it-
I'm not sure. I think that's some stuff that we have to figure out, meet with the college, university, find out, what their requirements are for their internship for the students.
Okay.
And try to work it out. So I think there's still some fine tuning, but this is kind of the direction we'd like to go and try it out and see if it works for us.
Maybe an unfair question, but regarding some of the programs and majors over at the university, they're kind of cutting back or relocating them. The criminal justice is still viable and going strong?
That's what I'm being told. I have spoken to the university. It sounds like they are, and I think that this is a good way to continue the criminal justice program and get
great.
people to continue the interest. So,
Good,
I do believe it's the largest or the second largest program on campus.
really? Let's keep it going. We need a recruitment
Absolutely.
over there.
Just the question that I have is, as Nathan brought up, do you want the board to sign these agreements? Do you want your town manager, or is that something that you want to just delegate to your police chief to sign the agreements with these interns?
What do we think?
I'm thinking
I
the
think the
chief.
police chief, yeah.
Okay. Consensus
Thank
of the
you.
board? Sounds like the police chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is it's a good community campus partnership. I like it.
Another easy one.
On to our next item. Amanda Carlton came to us about parking for postal employees. Yeah, if you could approach the mic, it would be fantastic. Helps for both our YouTube audience as well as folks on Zoom and
Hopefully not Poster 7 YouTube. All right. So most of you, hi everybody. I know a few faces. Most of you know what postal service folks do. We deliver your mail, we say use stamps. But I want to start off with just saying a few things that folks may not understand what we do. We get notices from courts. We get notices from Child Support Services, DHHS, Sex Offender Registry, and we actually have to report what their address is or what their new address is if they can't find them. I take that serious. I like the fact that we can keep that on the up and up for folks in the community. Local food drive every year. That's a big deal. Work through all weather. If I'm sick or it's snowing outside, I'm gonna drive an hour to get here to make sure you guys have your packages in your mail. Most of us through the pandemic worked 6 or 7 days a week. I myself was doing third shift at the plant in Manchester as a manager of distribution. So, you know, with all that being said, I take it very serious, and so do the folks here in Plymouth at the post office. We are civil servants. We are here for the community. We're here for all of you. We make sure the mail goes where it needs to go, certified letters for taxes and dogs and all that good stuff. With that being said, I have never seen parking so bad. And it's not just for post office, it's for everybody here. And I understand the dynamics now after talking to Chief and going through everything. I've seen some of you out in the streets and really picked the brains of all the business owners to see what everybody's doing for parking. And it's like a mixed matched batch of we figure it out, right? For us, from what I thought from the prior postmaster, was that we could park up at Peace. So knowing that we had 4 spots, and that was only verbal, I could not find anything in writing. So I made a phone call to Peace, and they said, hey, call, Mr. Feener at the bank. Okay. And that was something that he said he was not aware of. I was just asking for a few more spaces. It's not a thing. So now what I thought was our only parking is no more. We cannot park in that parking lot, as you guys have probably seen, starting at 4:45 in the morning. I was there, by the way, this morning. We have Amazon, 2 trucks. We have 3 trucks from DDA, from the post office, from the plant. And then we have FedEx and UPS and everybody else that drops off. And the college picking up or dropping off. So we can't park in there, maybe a couple of cars like we do, we finagle it. But we're just really, what we're asking for is something that I know was a thing back in the day. What we're looking for is paid, it'll be out of our pockets, the Postal Service will not pay for this, is paid permit parking. However that works, I don't know. I can get postal placards if they pay for it, if you guys want to keep them or something. But we definitely need, something needs to happen because we're trying to finagle, parking, and the only place that I can find is like the Hatch Plaza. The courthouse, maybe. There's a couple of little places around, but the only one that I can really see all of us parking, there's 9 to 12 employees a day, and we're all over the place. It's not like we're gonna carpool in, is so far away, I'm here after doing a lot of research. I've talked to PSU. I've looked in every avenue possible, and we want to be compliant with the law. We want to make sure that we pay for things that we're taking, like parking spots. And we don't want to, we don't really want to bump what's working well. This, with what we have downtown, it keeps the PSU students somewhat out of those areas. Is there any possibility of that? That's what I'm coming to you for. Can we do some sort of permit parking for postal employees, but also the other 2 businesses on that side of the road?
Did you actually speak with the courthouse?
I spoke with the girls in the front. I asked them, if that might be a thing. And it is a possibility. We'd have to hatch it out. The only thing is, I wouldn't want a couple of employees to be parking down there and having to walk up like during the winter. But obviously we could make arrangements for that. But that is a possibility. So, and they didn't say anything about liability. That word seems to be a big thing in the town. Liability, okay.
How many spaces are you looking for, Amanda?
So what I'm looking for is, we've gone over the numbers many times, between 8 to 10 spots. I know that that's not necessarily feasible. I've considered coming to you asking about making some spots on our side of the common 8-hour, but then we're gonna run into issues with students. You know, that's an issue. I don't know, I can't imagine that you guys haven't gone through this many times with other businesses. It is very confusing to try to figure out. Usually I can figure out an answer of some sort, and I can't with this one. I wish I could. But yeah, the permit parking is the only thing I can think of, and we want to pay. You know, we understand what it means downtown. I do now, after driving my Jeep around for a bit and trying to see where everybody's parking. It's tough. It's tough. I know, you know, we've talked about it, Marianne. There's a lot of, you know, tight quarters. So, anyone, any questions?
So is Pease open to paid parking, or?
No. No, I asked.
I know that there was some verbal, as you mentioned, a verbal agreement around the 4 spots. They're not interested in honoring that verbal agreement.
He told me that we should not be parking up there as it is a liability. So, but I did not get that in writing. So for the meantime, it is as it was.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yep.
Yeah.
How many spots are dedicated to the bank in Pease? 8 or something?
Honestly, it is wide open most days.
No, I know that,
Yeah,
but.
I've gone up there all different hours to check it out. I don't know that there are any, because Northway, if you know, has like, right, a little parking lot out back, kind of.
So we were told that the bank actually owns the parking lot for the library.
Really?
They own the entire parking lot.
Ooh, I hadn't heard that one, I don't think.
They own
Right.
half of it, don't they?
Half of it.
They own half of it.
Half of it? Which half?
I don't know what the agreement is.
Yeah, backside.
Oh,
The half that you
can't get
enter
to it
on,
without going to it.
well, you can get into it, you just can't get out.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's the Hotel California parking lots.
Yeah, yeah.
We have
So-
some potential ideas.
Oh.
If we could look at a couple areas and get back to the board,
Who's we?
Kathy and I,
Okay,
and we'll talk to Alex and see what he thinks as well.
okay. Ooh, and just confirming, the university was not open to any options
No.
there either?
No, they were very gracious in saying so.
Okay.
I talked to
I thought maybe they would be
Patty
with more,
Rice.
you know, remote staff and that kind of thing, but I guess not.
Well, I was hoping for like, you know, the area up, which I thought was a Citizens Bank that was owned by them, but it obviously is PSU.
Right.
There's always some open spaces up there. So even with a permit, I figured, you know, maybe we can try, see how much that would be, but it was a no-go. And understandably so, because all of those parking spots, again, liability, they have insurance. So there's liability insurance for those students parking there. I did not realize, but now I do.
Does that place ever get filled?
No.
Yeah, okay, that's,
Yes.
Right, I've
does.
been, Bill, I've driven up and, do you think it does?
I work in that building.
Oh, do you? Okay.
It doesn't get filled up during the summer,
Okay,
but during the regular school year, and granted, students are not supposed to be parking in those spots, but
yeah,
they do.
yeah.
And so I have to roll the proverbial dice when I go to lunch.
You should see the way that I have to I'll keep my vehicle close. And that's the other thing, I have a huge vehicle. With gas prices, I should get something else, but it's like, how can I even afford that at this point, you know? It's like, okay, I have to get here through rain, wind, snow, etc. So I'm gonna drive a boat. Pretty much. So I apologize, and, you know, for all the crazy that's going on with our parking and the trucks and all that, but I also appreciate you listening to me, all of you.
Downtown parking is a complicated issue.
Yeah,
Very.
Yeah,
especially with next summer
Right.
coming.
it only gets worse.
on a similar subject, you know, when you offered the tour of the post office, we went and looked at the parking area, And then there was a follow-up conversation with Paul Wolfson.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like in a different tack, but, you know, he pointed out that, I don't know if this needs addressing or whether or not there's a real good rationale of why it's there, but there's like either 3 handicap spots. And maybe it's because of the church, but
Yeah.
he
that's
was
what I was
concerned
thinking.
that it was actually taking, you know, the chance that non-handicapped people could use, you know, go to the store or
If you
something like that.
drive, if you drive down though and back up and you notice those are the only 3 that are remotely close to the church, and that's exactly what it's for.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I studied the town at this point, which is strange, I know, but
Huh.
I went looking for spots. Random.
Right.
Yeah. There's I think there's like a method to all the madness down there, which I didn't realize until I was open to listening to you guys and, you know, the other business owners, and realizing that, wow, yeah, there's a method to that madness for sure.
Okay,
Yeah. But, you know, Wolfson as well, like we're both trying to work together to figure out a solution. You know,
okay.
can't park on our roofs yet.
There's an option.
I would love that, but the building's really old. They said no.
Interesting.
So we're going to have Ann and Kathy put together some proposals. When
The next meeting.
you bring it back in 2 weeks? Okay. 3?
Yep.
3 weeks? Wow.
Is it 3?
We get
Oh, yeah, because of the holiday.
a little week off.
Jeez.
And we'll talk to Alex, Nathan, and, you know, I'm not sure that we'll come up with some, but we have some ideas.
Great.
Yeah.
Will it solve all of parking, or?
No.
You're not going to
Not even
solve
close.
the entire parking issue in the entire town,
Exactly.
in fact.
Now the mayor.
Sorry.
I know this was a particularly hot button issue even on Facebook this past week. Is there anybody from the audience who wants to speak related to parking? I wondered if there was folks hanging out here. Yeah,
Too.
why don't you approach the mic, introduce yourself, and just let us know your current thoughts and thinking and why parking's an issue for you.
So my name is Angela. I'm the owner of Angela's Cut Above on 47 Main Street. One question that I have is, why isn't the whole town metered? Like from Yamas all the way down to Samahas is free parking. Why do my customers have to pay, but the customers down there do not? I don't feel as if that's a fair trade-off. Like, because not all of my customers come in for an hour and a half, and a lot of my customers are getting parking tickets, and they've been paying their meters. But what happens is some of them the older ones don't have cell phones, and I try to give them quarters, but then I get caught up doing this person's hair and that person's hair, and then I run to go out to feed their meter, and I missed them by 3 minutes. Can't even tell you how many times that's happened. It's actually starting to affect my business negatively. Like, it just happened again last weekend, where I'm pretty sure I just lost a customer who came in, got a half hour, he paid a half hour. He was in the shop for 40 minutes. I ran out because I noticed that the meter person was coming around, or the police officer was coming around, and I just barely missed him because I was in the middle of doing another client's hair. Like, I'm busy. Like, we don't have time. It's a complete disaster. I didn't know if there was like a parking pass. Like, why can't we have, like, I would happily pay, anywhere from $150 to $300 to have a parking pass, like a permit that hangs in my window or hangs in my customers' windows, because I would happily give my spot up. I've actually talked to another business owner, and I'm actually using his parking lot to park my vehicle, because we have 2 different types of businesses. So I'm out of work by the time he gets busy. So he is very gracious in giving me a spot, and I actually pull super far forward in my spot, so one of my employees can actually park behind me. So we actually utilize one spot for 2 vehicles. But I figured a parking pass, something's got to give with the parking. We've got to figure this out, because it's going to hurt my business. It's not just me that's affected by it. That's really all I have to say. That, and this is not, or it's kind of irrelevant, but it has to do with parking. The parking spots in front of the crosswalk downtown, if those were to be diagonal, you'd be able to see the crosswalk better, you'd be able to see the pedestrians better. So I don't know what the legations of being able to turn those from the parallel to, or vice versa. They're parallel. If we were to switch the parallel with the horizontal, you'd be able to see the crosswalk better.
Which spots are those?
The ones right in downtown, so like right on the one way,
Yep.
the ones that are all parked this way before the crosswalk, and then they're all parked this way after the the crosswalk. If they were to switch and have them like parallel parking versus the pull-in parking, you'd be able to see the crosswalk better.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep. I just thought I'd throw that out there. It has nothing, it has to do with parking, but that's all I'd have to say. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to have parking passes or how to go about that, but businesses are, it's making coming to businesses on my end of town my clients they're not happy. And I try my hardest to get out there to pay the meters, and not everyone has the quarters, and not all my clients have cell phones, and then there's the fee that goes along with it for the ones that do. It's just, it feels like it's a lose-lose situation. And I understand that, the new meters cost money, but it jumped 75 cents. It's, who has $8 or 8 quarters, $2 worth of quarters in their pocket? So I've been footing their bill on top of it. So it's another expense on my account. And I know that it's not anyone's responsibility but mine. And I'm, something's going to give with the parking. So that's all I have to say.
Any commentary on her idea, either from our parking committee rep or from the chief?
Part of the problem is with the parking passes is there's only so many spaces.
Right.
And there's tons of employees, and so the rub is if we give the employees all parking passes, they'll no place to park for customers.
What if it was a customer? What if it was a customer?
But I'm pretty sure, as a business owner, if you were to say, "Hey," if as a business owner, if I would graciously give up my parking spot, so one of my customers I'm going to be able to service, and that's why my business is there, I would gladly give them the spot to park.
Right, but we all agree that parking is an issue, and we've tried to address it 100 different ways this Sunday, trying to find different spaces all around the town. Shuttle was talked about as an option, but there, who gets how many? Do you get 1? Do you get 5? I want 5. Biedermans may want 10. We can't figure out a way to make it, even across the board. And without, we all want customers to have spaces as well. My customers only stay for 15 minutes. Yours stay for an hour and a half.
Not all of them do, but some of them
Sure,
do, yes.
sure. I don't know, Chief.
No, I agree with you. That's the problem, is there's so many employees downtown. If you give everybody a pass, then where else is the park?
Yeah.
She did ask a question.
Oh, you had a specific question? I'm sorry.
No, nope.
Your first question was why are some people paying and others are
Oh,
not?
yeah.
Why
yeah.
are some
So
businesses
from
unmetered?
Yamas all the way down to Samaha's is free parking.
30 minutes.
Yep, it's 30 minutes free parking. So my customers at my end who come in for an eyebrow wax, they have to pay. And they're there for 15 minutes and they still have to pay. So I don't think that it's fair that some are metered and some are not. If my customers have to pay, I feel downtown needs to pay as well. I think that it should be even across the board, if we're going to be even across the board with not getting parking passes. And then that's more extra revenue to maybe build something for parking down the road if the downtown people, if all of those were metered and everyone had to pay. There's even more money coming in because now there's no free parking. And
Is there a reason why there's some free parking? is there an existing reason for that?
Frank's got a hand up.
Oh, our chief historian. Thanks, Frank.
That was part of the Main Street program in 1995. That was actually a concept. It was temporary in nature. We wanted to see if it would facilitate people going into businesses to get a cup of coffee, a sandwich, and out. But it was only temporary, and 25, 30 years later, we might want to reconsider. But the other thing was, of course, part of the Main Street program was to beautify our Main Street. That's why we put the electrical service down on Green Street entrance rather than Main Street, which didn't get done past going south from the Fox Block south. Again, it was a combination of just to look to see how it would work, and then beautification. Now with the technology of the kiosk type system, which is up for discussion, but it's a major expense to own and operate. But that's why it is the way it is. Part of the Main Street program in '95.
Thank you.
So is that something we should reconsider? Or?
I think the parking committee should reconsider it and come back with a recommendation to either keep it as it is
Right.
with reasons
Right.
or to bring some equity to that situation. Does that
That's
make
good.
sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Do we have anybody else who wanted to speak?
Can I just ask?
You can at the microphone, sir.
Oops. Didn't hit the button.
I'm a resident of Plymouth.
What's your name?
Michael Renkert. We have a whole ton of
Thanks,
free
Michael.
parking at the Rumney Post Office, just to let you all know.
Just put a plug in, right?
I was just wondering why the parking meters were set up this way instead of like the way Concord has it, where they have kiosks and you go and just pay with a card. It makes it a heck of a lot easier. I've tried to use the app a couple of times, and sometimes it works, and I wonder if anyone really knows if I've paid or not when I'm at one of those meters.
They definitely
They do.
know.
Yeah.
And the primary reason was cost. The kiosk-based systems would have been much more expensive for us to convert over to than these, which was, we put a sticker on them and we change out the head and we moved on. So it was, I agree that kiosk-based system's a lot easier to use than what we have, but it was very, very expensive.
Or the 35-cent charge
What's,
when you use the.
No, the Concord doesn't have the 35-cent charge.
does Concord not have a convenience fee on theirs?
No, they do not.
They don't?
No, you pay with the card right at the kiosk.
Please, approach the microphone.
So I'm Yvonne Wolfson from Wolfson Jewelers. We're experiencing the same problems as Angela's cut above, where basically every parking spot across the street is free for 30 minutes. They can't chalk tires, so trying to keep track of that, sort of not a logistical thing that makes a lot of sense anyway. So saying it's 30 minutes free doesn't really mean 30 minutes free unless there's a parking enforcer that's full-time like we used to have, which makes sense. I know that they're looking right now, but it doesn't change the fact that right now it's a problem for us. I mean, at our business, I'm pretty much the only full-time employee that's there all day, which means I'm hitting my meter every 2 hours. If I have a customer, I have to close my whole store just to leave to go do that. I have to kick someone out of my business to literally not get a $30 or $50 ticket, depending on which spot I've chosen to take. It's been a real problem for my customers. We constantly have people coming in to ask us for a quarter or change for $1 so that they can actually feed their meters to do business with us. They're not parking at the 30-minute across the street because they're regularly full. So we have plenty of handicap parking, but most of our customers are not handicapped accessible parkers. So we have regular calls from customers saying, I cannot come pick up my repair. I cannot complete my order because I cannot park, because I cannot find a space. I don't have the time to go around the circle 6-7 times just to come pick up something that they've already paid for. So it's a consistent problem for us, and it's just something that needs to maybe, I don't know, get looked into further with maybe a parking garage, which I know was talked about a few years ago. I don't know how feasible that is, given that we don't really have any places where I could see that it could actually go.
Yeah, unfortunately, garage is not feasible
Yeah.
from the research that we've done. Once again, we've tried even spots here and spots there.
Yeah. I guess that's all I really have to say. Thanks.
What locations have we looked at for a parking garage?
We've looked at behind the senior center. We have PSU we've talked to around the Silver Center as well. No interest in that. PSU is not interested in giving any up their parking. We've kicked around a couple ideas. We've kicked around, I don't remember who owns where the trees are. I forget the gentleman's name.
Where the trees are, but the
Doug McLean.
Yes,
McLean owns where
Doug
the trees
McLean.
are, but do we own
The other side, we
We own the
own.
other
We
side.
own.
Yeah.
It's just not, so it's
enough space.
basically rock. So it would have to be all.
Blasted.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Quite expensive.
What about that? It's quite a bit down the road, but what about where the now Mid-State parking lot is?
No. they're
Too
not.
far, you think, or?
They're not, it's their parking, they're not interested. I
There is
imagine they're going
there's
to be
There's
even
a trick in the
more.
legislation called eminent domain.
This is true, but do we want to get on that path?
I mean, personally, what's the loss to the town by taking a parking lot that doesn't pay taxes with eminent domain? I mean, if the citizenry says there's a problem with parking,
Right.
that is feels like a viable reason.
Well, we could consider where 7-Eleven or, I forget what it was,
there
Tedeschi
was-
before.
yeah, the old
You could walk down
Main
that
Street.
path as well. No avail.
I mean, it takes a certain amount of, conviction to go down those kinds of roads,
Right.
but we hear about parking
Right.
constantly.
Yes, we do.
You don't have to look around very far. It feels like maybe if reasonable measures aren't getting us what we need, then
Right.
we may have to go further. Frank, you had more thoughts?
Yeah, there were 5 or 6 places identified, but right now the average cost per elevated parking design fee is around $50,000 to $75,000
Per spot?
per spot. So you're talking multi-million-dollar facility in any of the locations. But one, it's like Green Street was identified in the Green Street plan in '95. It's the substation, which is low grade anyway, put in a top street level grade. Plymouth Insight that has a right of way to that. At one time, we were talking with McLean about doing the whole thing and then putting his trees up on the roof, because all your cities are doing dual use parking garages where the top floor is raising vegetables and stuff for the restaurants and help generate income for the facility itself. But any of these raised systems would be a 3 to 5 year project. Now, we do have the capability, as I've expressed previously, of painting another 22 spots on the dirt down on Green Street to have some of the employees be able to relocate.
Who owns that
especially
space? Is that the senior center?
Water and sewer.
Or water and sewer?
Okay,
Yep.
and so that's south of the spaces of the senior center. So again,
Have we had
it's-
any conversations with water and sewer about that space? You have suggested that a couple of times.
Yes, I have brought it up. It's been brought up at meetings back in 2000, and I'm just the one who did all the research on the ownership and if we were going to plan it, who was going to be involved. And it's not my property.
No, I understand.
We've walked down that path a couple times.
Yes.
Spoke with Joe as well. They store a lot of snow back there.
Yeah, I mean, but even if they were 3-season spots, that would take some of the pressure off.
A little bit.
The other part, of course, obviously, is 5 Points Way, which is the part that's bound behind the theater. That's 5 Points Way. That, of course, is all privately owned. And it's a case of business to business coordinating with trying to get parking that would facilitate customers coming to their businesses. But that would be a private venture. But the only public element we would have is the substation parking and Plymouth Inn site and Silver Hall.
How many spaces at the substation now?
17.
17, and you think that could be expanded?
Yes, you could get 15 spaces elevated, keeping a profile of safety approach onto Green Street out of the facility. But again, that would it would be a combination of things that you'd be trying to do because it's historical, and then obviously close to the river, and then we'd have to work very closely with the co-op as far as safety as all that.
And
but that's all engineering planning.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a complicated spot.
So the quick one is having the business owners who own property on the places behind buildings on Main Street need to work together to facilitate parking for their employees and their customers. And they've all been, I've talked to all of them and said, hey, I don't own your property, but you're gonna, you need to work together as a community to help resolve some of the issues that prevent customers coming to your business.
Ann, did you have a thought?
Just thinking maybe we can have Joe map out the area that he needs for his snow and have the parking committee invite water and sewer to your meeting. Tell them what you want to do.
Certainly happy to.
If they'll, they may say no.
It seems like we could, if they said no, they say no, but, we should at least ask.
Right.
Sure. Once again, we've walked down the path before, but happy to walk
And
it
have
down.
they said no before?
They have not. We've mostly dealt with Joe, the senior center. They're concerned about it as well. There's no easy answer, but happy to engage with them as well.
Okay. When does parking committee meet again?
Actually, is there a meeting tomorrow? No. Okay. I thought I saw something. Yeah, we usually do.
But I think it's important that Joe at least given an opportunity of staking out what kind of area he needs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. It gets difficult too because of the river's right there, so we can't do it close to the river. So there's that balance as well.
Any other questions or comments from the audience around parking before we move on? Thank you. Appreciate all the public input. It's a complicated issue. But we'll work it through parking committee and see if we can come up with some answers. Barbara Spike, Riverside Drive traffic problem.
I'd like to thank you, the Select Board, for listening. I wrote a letter addressed to the board back on August 12th. And I think it's probably faster if I read this. About 2 hours after, I write this about 2 hours after I was almost broadsided coming out of Riverside Drive by a speeding car on Tenny Mountain Highway that ran a red light on its way towards Walmart. This car had made no attempt to even slow down, go through that red light at nearly 40 miles an hour. Had I been proceeding through the intersection exiting Riverside Drive, I would have been hit, only because I hesitated when I saw a flash out of my left peripheral vision did I miss getting hit. That's not the only time. I've had 2 other close calls as well. This letter comes to you as a recommendation from a corporal at Plymouth Police. He said it's not something that Plymouth Police have control over. It's an issue for DOT. But by bringing this to your attention, I hope you can get it resolved. This problem I tried to explain in an email about 2 weeks ago to the town clerk, which I've edited since. Riverside Drive has a few noticeable problems. The entering road does not have a stop sign at the T-end, where the bank is here, the hotel is here, Market Basket's there, and McDonald's is there. However, many times people will stop there. They have tried to ask me to come out when I'm leaving the bank at that intersection. And I think a lot of people need to redo their license exams. But it's very frustrating because what often happens, and this has all been in dry weather, you get wet weather, snowy weather, somebody stopping when the rest of us know not to stop, to just go slowly and take that left turn or right turn wherever we're going. But you've got an unexpected stop in front of you, okay? And it's amazing we haven't had accidents there. And the other thing, the big thing that bothers me the most is when exiting Riverside, the light timing allows for only 4 to 4.5 cars to exit at that light. That is let's see, what did I say? It was, I timed it. It's exactly 10 seconds long. However, the light at Highland Street, coming off of Highland Street onto Tenny Mountain to Riverside, is at least another 5 to 10 seconds longer. I believe it's like 18 seconds. Could they change when they change the light sequence again, which they've already changed, could they please increase the timing of the light coming out of Riverside? So many times I have been at that intersection heading out, cars in front of me, and 2 cars go through the red light almost continuously. It's been happening with an awful lot of regularity. And it's a conundrum. So I wanted to bring it to your attention. And
Is your hypothesis that they're running that red light because it's too short?
yes,
Because the timing's too short?
yes, it is 4 to 4.5 cars. Seriously. And I'm talking, I watched the Christmas tree lights at the raceway. When that light turns green, I'm gone. All right? I know to watch and be careful, but I know that at least 4 of us can get out of that light as long as I'm paying attention, and I go immediately when that light changes. As I said, fortunately, I've driven long enough that he didn't have an accident when a couple of cars have gone through that light, just flying through without stopping. So it's bizarre. Plus, we also have had vacationers, those from other states, especially ones south to us, who try to take a red. And I had it happen yesterday. Coming out of Highland Street, I'm coming off the green, making my left, heading towards Hannaford's, and this car comes down Highland, stops momentarily, thinks it's got the right on red, that it can go, and that was almost an accident. So that whole, I don't know what to do, but at least stop a little bit of the people going through the red lights by increasing the time coming out of Riverside. It's too short.
Is that DOT as well, setting the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, timing's DOT.
Yeah.
Has DOT ever changed the sequence?
Yes,
or
they have.
They did.
They changed it about a month ago.
On what basis, though?
They've changed from Highland, okay, it used to be you have both sides going, and then you have Highland, back then they had Highland coming in first, and then Riverside would come out. And then when they changed it about a month or so ago, now it's Riverside comes out first, and then Highland comes out. And then Tenny Mountain. So.
The time coming out of Riverside is shorter
Mhm.
than it used to be.
Yeah.
public comment that the town coming out of Riverside is shorter than it used to be. We could write another letter for DOT to ignore from us about Tenny Mountain Highway.
Yep.
I think it makes sense to. Honestly, I think we should, in that letter, request that they review the speed limit again. I know they completely rebuffed us on that, but we got another development going in on Tenny Mountain Highway. The speed limit being 40 through there, it seems wrong to me.
That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, someone runs a red light at 30 or 25. It's just a whole different scenario than 40.
I have actually, one of my cars was destroyed at 5 o'clock in December with a dry road back about 7 years ago when the light was first put in there. I was coming from, say, the Dunkin' Donuts side, heading towards Walmart, heading towards that light. We were stopped at the light. There were 4 cars in front of me. This car came barreling down, did not see anybody stopped. Just a second before it hit me, it veered off my center line, took out my rear tail light, rear window. One of my seats went forward, and it would never come back. I'm very lucky I had a seatbelt on. Mm-hmm. I did not hit a vehicle in front of me, but that was a 35-mile-an-hour impact. So that's in that stretch, and that's where they're doing all the excavation right now. So that whole area is really somewhat so. But if anybody can get through to the DOT, it took me 2 years.
Hot button issue for Neil. You have some commentary?
It's a really serious problem. Today, I almost had a head-on collision with a red light runner coming out of Riverside Drive,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the green light, and I see cars barreling through the red lights at 40 or 50 miles an hour. In fact, they speed up.
Mm-hmm.
They speed up.
Yeah.
You got to make it. Got to make it. Got to get through there. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
So,
I've seen them do it.
Zach, I was wondering if maybe it not just be us putting in the letter, that we ask the chief of police to sign in support of it because of the issues that have been identified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you be comfortable with that, Chief?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I agree the timing needs to be changed. It's too short, and everybody else just tries to get through it.
Is that light on some kind of adaptive sensor or not?
No.
I don't know. I think it's timing. I'm not
I
sure
think
why
it's
I
timed
said
block lighting. Yeah.
Now they have to come out and physically change the box.
Oh, I know, because in order to get to the other side, I have to.
So, yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna draft a letter and have both the board and the chief sign it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you.
This is kind of like a
Related, but
well,
different.
yeah, related but different. So there definitely seems to be like roads that people just run red lights, and that's becoming one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like Tilton, when you get off in Tilton, there's always people running the red light. You just like stop there and we'll watch a couple of cars go through. So it's just people get a mentality that no one's gonna bother and just run it. And obviously it's an enforcement thing. If they had like a cop sitting there stopping them all the time, maybe they change that mentality. But
Is that something that we enforce or the state?
No, we can absolutely force it.
Okay.
yeah, we would never see a state cop.
I don't know, it's like a state road, so I've seen state police pull people over on that road before.
Any other comment about that? We'll get a letter drafted. That's our next step. Board good with that?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, next up, we have a petition related to Bell Road and a call to action around dust mitigation.
So,
Is there one of the petitioners that would like to speak to this specifically?
Sure. We think we have a couple people here, but I'm Kristen Carmen. This is my daughter Lila, my husband Jay, and our son Jace. If you can. I submitted some documentation to the board. If you've had time to review it, I'm happy to answer any questions about it. But I can provide a recap. We moved to Plymouth about a year ago. Obviously, it's a wonderful community. We've enjoyed it. We didn't realize how busy Bell Road was, or how dusty it becomes through most of the summer months of the year. Obviously, for safety reasons, we don't walk on the road anymore. There are no speed limit signs posted anywhere on the entire stretch of roadway. There are no children at play signs. Both of those are concerning. We have pretty extensive and heavy traffic. We counted the other day with a trail cam, there were almost 300 vehicles that went by, including many fully loaded logging trucks, dump trucks, and obviously just normal pedestrian traffic. I would say it's pretty extensive. The road doesn't support large trucks, or it shouldn't. We have called several times to have suppressant put down. I know on occasion Joe and some people from the town have come out and put that down. Of course, no one wants us to keep calling every day, but ourselves and other residents on the road will do so if that's what we need to continue to do to have something done. After we emailed back and forth with the town, you okay? We were instructed to go ahead and talk to some of our neighbors and get their opinions. So in that email that I had drafted, I listed all the grievances that we heard from our neighbors, not just ourselves. And then the petition we got signed, where we're asking for someone to do something to either pave or stone and oil the roadway to prevent the dust, which, like I said, as you can read in the documentation from the state and from the epidemiology journals, it's incredibly bad for human health. And the particulate matter, carcinogens, hydrocarbons, heavy metals, all of that is PM 2.5, which is a very small particulate matter that can enter your lungs very easily. Obviously, children and elderly are more susceptible to having health effects associated with that inhalation. It starts off with acute asthma, and it can lead to serious things such as heart attacks, obviously lung cancers as well. The summation of all of that is simply, we've done everything we can do. We have vegetation growing along the roadway. We don't play outside when it's hot, humid, high traffic. We stay off the road. We don't exercise on the road or walk.
We also have a lot of physical evidence of the traffic, of unnecessary traffic, of extremely heavy vehicles, and documentation that the road is too narrow for said vehicles. I mean, 19 foot wide in some sections of the road, and at a full-size tractor trailer logging. I have a video on my phone. I'm coming down the road, and this guy's 35.
Sir, I'm going to just interrupt you briefly. Could you approach the mic for us? Otherwise, I have to repeat everything you say, and
You don't want to have to do that.
that's a lot for me.
We have a lot of evidence of very heavy vehicles. I mean, excessive traffic, very excessive traffic, even because of the road work being done on Eden Road or Bartlett Road, whatever it is. It's still 150 to 300 cars a day on a class 5, class 6 road is just unacceptable. And really what we're looking for is some sort of action to be done to get rid of the dirt road. And not even the entire road, just the quarter mile from, or whatever it is, from top of Reservoir to Morse Road. That is also paved. That's pretty much it.
Why just that quarter of the road and not the rest of the road?
Because there's no one else that really lives on that road.
So through our conversations with the community and different people in the town that we had spoken to, we were told that most of the residents on the other side of Bell Road were seasonal and they don't want it paved. I also think that the houses along the top side of the road where we live have a lot of children, and they're a lot closer to the roadway than some of these other houses. Sorry. So that was the reason that we went and spoke to our immediate neighbors and had them all sign that petition that we submitted.
Joe, do you want to comment on your thoughts on any of this?
Or we have some other, I think some other people. as well.
Were there other citizens who wanted to speak to Bell Road?
And Scott's probably included in this as well, in some of the documentation.
Yeah, I'll take either of you. Scott, do you want to speak first?
I can confirm what this family is talking about. I was out with Jason one day going over his property. He was applying for a building permit, and the traffic that travels that road at a very high rate of speed. It's a bypass, so people don't have to use Tenny Mountain Highway to cut across from Highland Street over to Mayhew Turnpike, or to cut across Morse Road to get to Mayhew Turnpike, whether in whichever direction they're going. You'll see a lot of traffic that will come across from Highland Street, Bell Road, Morse Road, and then actually go west on Mayhew Turnpike to go up towards Haverhill. But the traffic is crazy out there. I've almost been hit twice out there in the town vehicle, coming across from different sites that I've been inspecting. So what they're saying is absolutely the truth. It is a horrible, horrible road, especially being used as a bypass, and it's only going to get worse when school goes back in session, because there's a lot of high school students that travel that road, and it's just a matter of time before a serious accident takes place.
Thanks, Scott.
I have a question for Joe. Joe, is there the possibility of closing the far end that comes onto the highway just at the bottom of that hill so that you avoid through traffic?
I think it would be pretty inconvenient for the people who live there if we did that.
Oh, it depends how they feel about it.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I don't know how they feel about it, but if they knew it was a possibility to close that to eliminate the traffic that's coming through from 3A.
The problem is they'll use Morse Road.
True. Citizen said that the problem is that they'll use Morse Road. Joe, what are your thoughts on that section of the road?
Well, all those roads, you have Bartlett, Morse, and Bell, they're all crossovers. So their concerns have a merit. I mean, we've done a lot of work out there in the last few years on Bell Road, but the section where they live, it's they cleared that whole hillside across the street from them. They used in this, so it's wide open. There's a lot of trees, and so that they're in a very sunny section. So a lot of that road has shade. So where they live, the sun beats in there, and it just creates a lot of dust. And so I don't have an issue per se about paving it. It's just a matter of how we can afford to do it. So from Reservoir, their concern is to pave it from Reservoir to Morris. Well, if you pave it from Reservoir and you go down to the bottom of the hill, there's a pull off. If you want to do it in a two-part and get the hill part paved, and then because from there out to Morse, there's only one more house right on the corner of Morse, and it's shady in there, so that's really not an issue. But if they're looking to pave it, I can't see the money being available to pave that whole stretch. So if you pave the hill down to the bottom, and that takes care of the problem, fine. But if it doesn't, then you could do it in a two-part. But we'd have to, go to the townspeople and figure out how to appropriate the money.
Is the road in that section wide enough without having to encroach on landowners' property?
Well, if you're gonna pave, usually you gotta have a 20-foot road, 20 foot wide. So if there's some areas that are only 19, we gotta do a little bit of work ahead of time to fix that, which it can be done. So
A paving project like that, what's the rough ballpark on how much money we would ask the taxpayers for? You said it's a quarter mile?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, probably 100,000.
I was thinking more like 2 or 3, so 100
I mean,
doesn't
just
sound
to
as
do-
bad as I would have expected.
To the halfway point, and that's why I'm saying if you can just correct from the top of the hill to the bottom where there's that pull off, you can buy some time before you pave, connect it to Morse Road. So if you're trying to do it all in one whack, I think it's more money than I know how to find the money for, so. But
Ann, you had a question or comment?
Just a comment. If you pave that area, aren't you going to create more of a speedway?
Yes.
You definitely don't slow traffic down if you pave it. That's
Right.
That's why
absolutely
we
true.
posted signs, and I
Yeah.
asked law enforcement to sit there and
Yeah,
let
and the-
people know. And we were told that they don't know what the speed limit is on that road, and they'd have to look into it.
Well, in all New Hampshire,
It's not
all New
posted.
Hampshire roads, if it's not posted, it's 35. So,
Well, they're definitely, I bet you have someone sit in that turnaround for a day or two, and people would slow way down.
yeah, I think posting it makes. I mean, of the two requests, right? Paving is the most expensive and takes more time. Installing signage, is there any objection to putting some signage on that road?
No.
I would think from a priority standpoint, that might be the first thing for us to do is let's get some speed limit signs up there. Let's get some children at play signs up there, and just see if we can, at a minimum, can we reduce some of the risk there?
And what about the
then deal with the
large trucks? Can we, anything we can do about
We
the
should be able to
large
put
trucks, the
no
logging
large, we
trucks?
should put no through trucking.
Ban through trucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, on paper that says that on Highland Street. We don't have any signage up for it still.
But we could put up signage on this particular case, and, I know that
I
those
agree.
vehicles come through to Reservoir because I hear cars.
They are logging up in that area too, which, they got to get out if they're going up in there to do the work.
If they're logging up in there, that's different than through trucking.
I agree.
Well, they're working on Bartlett Road too, so there's extra trucking there right now in Reservoir too, so.
Yeah, but a Coca-Cola truck is not a logging truck, and I've seen them come through too.
Interesting. Joe, I don't want you to go too far, actually, but there are a couple people who want to say a few things. Grace, do you want to just quick comment for us?
Yeah, quick comment. So we live on the dirt end of Texas Hill Road, and we have 25-mile-an-hour signs there. I think it even helps with the dust.
Yeah, because
Yeah, slower traffic.
Right.
It's
I mean,
gotta
we're
keep
in a
up.
drought, by the way. We're in a
right.
moderate drought, so we're
It's
going
the
to have a
worst
lot of
time
dust.
for it.
But
Yeah,
that's just, you could maybe just throw a few up at least to address it. And I
that's
find that
like the
people
I
go
think-
pretty slow.
Agreed, and I think the fastest solution to reducing the risk, reducing the issue, is to get some speed signs up. Scott, did you have something to say too?
I agree with Ann with regards to paving that road, but is there any way they could put reclaimed pavement down and roll that out, Joe, to take care of the dust issue, but it wouldn't increase the speed issue because you still kind of are gonna have a rough surface with the reclaimed pavement being put down? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, so any of those products, would you, like right now, coal patch is more money than asphalt.
Joe indicated that cold patch is more money than asphalt. So the price, we might not actually save anything putting the,
Well, the reclaim is what they've torn up from 93 or one of those other roads and they stockpile.
So, I mean, putting it in instead of dirt or gravel, you put that on and roll it on.
I think reclaim's an excellent proposal.
I think it's something that should be looked at. At least it wouldn't create a
it's
smooth
cost-effective.
surface where you're gonna get additional speed and you're gonna have something that
and lower dust.
solves the dust issue but keeps traffic to a minimum speed because it's still gonna be a bumpy, rough ride down through there.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Reclaim is a good erosion-resistant material, too. And that hill has had erosion problems over the years.
do we have like any washboarding or any of that kind of stuff happen on
We
that
have,
road
we
too?
have a little bit of that. Maybe just
Generally,
ask Joe
it
to
does
fix it.
pretty well.
Right.
So like the school buses, when they stop and all.
Joe, find a mic, please.
Microphone for us. Is that one hot?
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah, I would say you just take that one with you.
So all the school buses and the people that live on that hill, when when they pull out of their driveways or the school bus stops and pick up their kids, they just, they turn it up, they make it loose. And so that's why if you pave it, you'll solve that problem. But the reclaim will help, but it's not foolproof. I mean, that in itself, you have to still grade it and work it, and so it will help. I can find it and put it down, but it's not. It'll help, but it's not the answer.
I agree with Joe. I agree.
But it's a short-term answer.
Yeah.
Given the cost.
It'll be a short term, and it can help. And if they're trying to find a way to fund to pave it, we can do this on a short term and put the signs up. And
Yeah, I mostly just didn't want this to
And-
turn into a fiscal year 27 or so. I just
buy some time.
if there's a way to do something that gets us some progress sooner.
Not everybody has that available. I mean, the state has a stockpile of it, but they started using it on their shoulders when they do shoulder work, so they stopped.
Right.
I used to be able to get a load from them now and then, but there's different areas that actually make it. It's pretty close to the stuff that we make, that the gravel we make, but one of the big problems is when we go through a winter, no matter what you put out there, you put sand on top of the gravel or reclaim.
Right.
And then in the spring it gets mixed in, and that's what makes you dust.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Joe, could you come back with an estimate for us that's more realistic? I know I put you on the spot
Yep.
and just was like, what's the ballpark, right? And you were gracious enough to provide a guess, but could you come back to us with a proposal on what it would cost and whether or not it's a thing that fits this year or something that we would have to push out to a future budget year?
for the paving.
Yeah, I think for that, I mean, if you also want to make some phone calls to find out about reclaim, we could then make a decision to say, oh, well, reclaim is, we can do it for a tenth of the price. Maybe it's worth it. If we're talking about saving 10 or 20%, I'm less interested in that if we can put a real solution down.
One of the programs that before I started was we used to put calcium on the roads in a tanker truck. We'd grade all our roads and then roll them in for the season, and we'd go around, and a lot of the heavy hit areas like Bell Road, you could put the calcium on thicker. So one truck, we had it figured out, it would do the whole town, all the problem areas. And we did it for years, and it made the roads like rock hard, and it worked, but then they just cut it out of the budget and never got replaced. And
I mean, that's worth reconsidering too. We've been talking a lot about how can we do things that are inexpensive to get more life out of our roads, to give us time to catch up on. So, I mean, that's an interesting idea.
There are a lot of towns that don't even provide that service of calcium, and we do it because there's a need. But also, if we had that program, it takes 4 to 5 years for it to reenact itself and actually work. But I've seen it work, and it does work. I mean, we spend half that money every year in just buying the calcium and putting it out. So, and it's not even half as productive. So we can consider doing something different there too.
Yeah, that's interesting. Who does signs? Is it your department that does the signs?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to ask that we get some signs up. That
I
feels
think
like a good first step.
Should we post the speed limit at?
25?
Yeah, they would do 25.
I think so, knowing people are going to go faster than that anyway.
Morse is 25.
Is it?
You might have fewer cars going through there.
Well, all of a sudden, the map programs and everything start to update, and it doesn't get calculated as the fastest route and doesn't even route you through there, right?
In theory.
in theory. Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we put up signage to indicate the speed limit is 25 on Bell Road.
And effectively set the speed limit at 25 on
You
Bell
want
Road.
to add banning through trucks?
Yes, and banning through trucking.
Second.
Any
I'm
discussion?
not sure you're gonna get a 25 through there, but
We,
it's zoned for certain areas, so.
But Morse Road.
If Morse Road is 25, I don't know why that road would be any different.
Yeah, it's dirt, first of all, it should be slower.
And it's
Morse is
we're talking
paved.
about a town road, so we get to choose. Right?
Sounds good to me.
I mean, I know we can't go lower than 25. That's the legal
Right.
low.
Yeah.
Must we check with the police chief or something, or is it?
Is he in the hallway still, or did he leave?
he left, I think.
Thank you, Grace.
Can I speak?
Please, yes.
I actually called the road engineer for the state of New Hampshire, and he said that a survey could be done, but a survey could be as simple as someone driving up and down the road and saying it's not suitable for a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. There's really no, I don't know what the
Okay.
zoning is, but
Yeah, I don't know where any restriction would happen on us to not allow us to go that low.
Should we just like
Well,
make it
Do it,
25
right.
unless Alex has a problem with that or something like
Let's-
that?
Okay.
Let's make it 25, and if we find out that we made a decision that doesn't fit for some reason, we'll have to readdress it.
Yeah.
what everybody's doing now is 10 over,
Exactly, yeah.
you know?
Okay, so the motion that's on the table is change the speed limit on the road, on Bell Road to
25.
to 25 and
trucking.
ban through trucking. And put signage up indicating both of these things.
Yep.
And we have a second.
Yeah, I second it.
Neil seconded.
I wanted to say thank you. I know that
We haven't voted yes yet, but.
It doesn't matter. I still appreciate you all discussing it in depth that you have and having Joe and some of the other folks from the town weigh in. I realize we're just a few people within town, but it obviously impacts us, and I appreciate you all listening to it and considering it.
Well, your kids have been perfect angels, so
They want to talk.
they've sat through an entire long, boring meeting. I think on their behalf, we should vote on this. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. So we get the sign issue fixed, and Joe will come back and talk to us some more about costs. No guarantees about what we can do. Budgets are tight. Road construction is shockingly expensive, but we'll do what we can there. Yeah.
what qualifies a business to do road construction in Plymouth?
Well, sometimes we do our own, but when we hire out, we do a bid for it, and there's some requirements around bonding and.
Yeah, what do you need to be bonded for? Do you know? Any chance? Anybody?
The amount?
Well, Joe puts the,
I can give you a call.
So, I guess I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'll pave the road. I can give you a bid. I can come in a lot cheaper than other people. Same.
He'll let you know when he's ready to put the bid out. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely be in contact with us because we've got a lot of road work happening in this town. We're prioritizing it over the coming fiscal years, and it's very heavily weighted in the CIP plan that we're working on. So, road construction, road maintenance, we've got some work to do in town around roads. So thank you. Thanks, Joe. Next agenda item. Mr. Perez, New Hampshire Investment Housing Opportunity Program.
All right, yeah. Thanks, everyone. So I have here a little bit of information, and it's been, I believe, provided to you guys in your packet too, a memo. This is about the Invest New Hampshire Housing Opportunity Planning Grant. We've been tracking this for a while as it's been developed. It was initially sort of part of the governor's housing plan, as it was called. Then it's, worked through many phases. At the end of the day, $5 million is being made available to towns through New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority and Plan New Hampshire. And this is what has become of the Invest 603 Planning and Zoning Grant. It essentially gives municipalities resources to hire a consultant to, build upon the capacity to do a couple of different things, but all of which essentially relate to the needs analysis and planning, regulatory audits, and regulatory development. Each of these three phases is a separate grant. Each of them have a different, a different funding amount that is available, but more or less you can apply for them all, you can go for them all, and that's kind of what's being advised. We've sat through webinars and read the advisories and whatnot. We had a housing study conducted back in 2003, and we've had, continually been reviewing the data since then with master plan revisions. So, the first phase, needs analysis and planning, could allow for building upon that, gathering data. It's a real pressing issue, and gathering demographic data and general data about our housing stock and needs and demographic changes are important, aid in the planning going forward. We've also got here the regulatory audit and regulatory development. So, essentially in Plymouth's master plan process, a lot of recommendations and goals that came out have to do with updating, revising, or exploring updates and revisions to planning, zoning, site plan, subdivision regulations. And, one of the dilemmas with this is that it takes a lot of time and resources to go through the process of developing those, really deeply studying those. This allows for up to $175,000 to go towards that process, no match required. So it would really help to build upon whatever capacity we have in-house. It could just expand upon that. Public input is another key of this, and that's another one that takes a lot of time. So between volunteers, staff, and a consultant, there's a potential to get a lot of review done. As with anything, though, this is, going to be up to the town. There's not anything binding in terms of if a consultant recommends X, the town is bound to it. It's always up to town meeting to adopt these regulatory zoning changes, if that is indeed even what were recommended out of it. But given that, there are so many recommendations in the master plan that relate to looking at evaluating our zoning ordinance, there are areas that need to be explored, whether they conflict, whether they can be clarified, modernized, if that is what comes out as a need. And there is a sort of consideration that housing has to be considered throughout this. It is a part of the governor's housing plan, as it was once called. But, we talked to the planning board about it, and we've been keeping them very informed about it over the past months since it's been launched, and it's just recently been put out for sort of a formal application, though already we've heard there's been at least one town filing an application, but it is sort of a first come, first serve. But the planning board at their meeting last week, was in favor of us applying for this as a part of their activities. There's currently work to revise the site plan regulations, but this could really help to go take that next step. And give us some good data to work with and some good recommendations, just from a, building capacity standpoint. So, we're asking if the select board would authorize us to apply for the Invest 603 Housing Opportunities Planning Grant. Again, it's 3 phases. One phase, the first phase, $25,000, second phase, $50,000, third phase, $100,000. So up to $175,000 is available. It's kind of been advised. We feel that towns apply for all 3 phases at once and then can sort of work their way through that process as needed. So we're asking the select board to authorize us to apply for this, and we're asking for the town manager and finance director to be authorized to sign documents related to the submittal of this application. Of course, if awarded, I know we would need to go through the process with that, but we feel, getting out early, one limiting factor on this more than the money is the number of qualified consultants out there. So we feel if we can get out ahead of this and get an application in sooner, we might get, a better pick or sooner on a consultant schedule if that, should we be successful with the funding, which, we've been advised that they're they're making every effort to get this funding distributed to municipalities. You know, they want to see it used. They don't want to deny applications. So that's what we're asking. I don't know if there are any questions or if there's any thoughts anyone has on this.
Do you know roughly how much you'll be asking for?
We haven't come to a specific number yet, and they have advised that the budget perhaps can be a little bit rough. So we can continue to work on that, but we would think that applying for, on the higher end of the scale, just because of the fact that each phase is going to have to be paid out on its own, and there's the option to pay it directly, so the town doesn't have to put the money up front and submit for reimbursement. So if that's a concern in terms of a burden on the town, they have sort of assured us that won't be a requirement. But we would advise. We feel Plymouth is a really unique town in a lot of ways. We have a lot of needs. Our regulations haven't been revised in a long time, and we have a lot of different factors that a lot of other municipalities may not. So we feel we're in a pretty good position if we were to ask for closer to that full amount, though we may not, and it's also something that, if it's a sort of iterative process. So if you go through the analysis and you go through the audit and it comes out, no, actually the ordinances are fine as they are, there's not really any need to change. They've indicated that, if that is the way the process plays out, perhaps that funding can just be reallocated to another town. So we don't necessarily have to use it all, but we could get sort of pre-earmarked for it, as it were.
You had me a funding opportunity.
I understand it that sooner you apply, the better your chances are.
Yes, definitely.
And you should apply for all three phases.
Definitely, yeah. That was our understanding as well from everything we've heard from New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority and Plan New Hampshire. And we had even explored before Plan New Hampshire, became a part of this. They had a previous funding source, municipal technical assistance grant, which was a much smaller amount of funding, but we had even started to explore that. But then it was sort of canceled in favor of this. So, everything that we've heard is, the sooner you can get in front of them, your application, they're going to hear it, and they want to get these, funded and out the door quickly. So it is a definitely first come, first serve.
How long would it take to get the application in? How long would it take to get the application in?
It's not a terribly difficult application, I'll be honest with you. So we could probably get it in relatively soon. I don't know. I would think easily, within a month. But depending on some other factors how things play out in terms of, there's a housing needs assessment being done by Lakes Region Planning Commission, and they do advise you to take that information into consideration when applying. So that I would say would be the one thing that we may need to sort of take some time with and see where they're at in the process, what their data is looking like, and what gaps they might have, because they do want to fund needs analysis, but they don't want to duplicate the efforts of that. So we just want to make sure that would be the reason. The application itself is pretty straightforward, but just making sure we have a good handle on what Lakes Planning Commission is going to have for us, so we can make sure we're building off that and not just paying someone to duplicate that work.
So don't the RPCs have to have the analysis done at a certain point? Because so all the RPC is going to be done at a certain point. That
what we've heard is December, but they've advised, since they want towns to apply, maybe talk to your RPC sooner than that and see where it's headed. So maybe even you don't have a full analysis done, but you have they have certain parts of it done, or they have a sense at least of where it's pointing. That could be incorporated, because applications have been open already for a week or so. So they're processing applications, even though this isn't, they've sort of, I guess by the way they've built their timeline, sort of said that if you can apply prior to getting the full data set from the Regional Planning Commission.
So let's go for it. But
will the chair entertain a motion?
Sure would.
Absolutely.
I move that the board support the application by the Planning Department for the Invest 603 Housing Opportunities Planning Grants, and also ask for the town manager and finance director to be authorized to sign documents related to the submittal of this application.
I'll second.
Oh, God damn it.
Any discussion? Joe,
I just had a question.
could you grab a microphone?
Just grab this one, you can take it over there with you.
With this opportunity, do you know if it's like high-end housing, or are we still headed for like low-income housing? Or?
Yeah, so it's completely wide open. So that's kind of what's neat about this program, is that it starts with a study. It starts with researching the data. You know, what do we have a lot of in Plymouth? What do we not have? Are there gaps? Do we have plenty of housing as it is? You know, I think that's sort of a well thought out. Yeah, I think it's a well thought out process that they've developed for this, in that sense, that they want you to start by looking at your data, and then they want you to look at how that interplays with your regulations before they start drafting any changes. So it's really a matter of getting the public input on what the public wants, getting the data of where we have strengths and weaknesses, and then sort of pulling it all together. And if they're, after that whole process is done, then looking at what might we do to get to where we need to. But I think that's kind of a neat feature of this program, actually, is that it sort of builds on itself in that way.
And it's holistic in its approach.
Absolutely.
I hear a lot of people complaining about they're struggling to pay the high rents in Plymouth, and in fact that they can't even find a place to live. I know there are people sleeping in their cars in our town.
Yeah, I have a friend living in my spare room because there's no housing in Plymouth.
We have a motion, we have a second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, all ayes.
All right.
Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate the thoroughness of your proposal, and I love the way it's linked back to the master plan.
Yeah, thank you so much. We will get working on this and hopefully get something together really soon.
Thanks.
Grace Garvey, solar pricing.
Good evening. Well, it's actually two-phased. So the first phase of the conversation, I sent this to Kathy earlier today, is the LED lighting project that we had put before the select board a while ago. And that LED lighting project has two components. One are the street lights and converting those. And the co-op has been working with us. We've identified a bunch of lights to replace. The replacement of those fixtures to accommodate LED lights would be no cost to the town. I think what we would just need to do is write a letter to support that they move forward with replacing the fixtures to accommodate LED lights. And those would be lights that are not on Main Street, but other lights that we pay for, basically, that the town pays for. And so I'm not...
No cost to the town?
Correct. That's what the
That's a
co-op is
quote.
saying.
Energy manager loves that.
It would take about 2 or 3 years to replace them all.
Is there street lighting fixtures to basically change them over to be LED?
Correct.
Or
Cost
replace
to the town.
the current LED fixtures as well, to update them to a better fixture? Is that?
Nope. It would be conversion, the ones that are already...
Yeah.
Just converting, are they incandescent currently, or halogen, or
I'm not actually sure about that. I just know that they're
not
they're
LED?
not up to date.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know how many we're talking about?
I don't. I certainly could get numbers for you. I don't know if it...
They are talking about reviewing all of them, though. This is a...
They've already reviewed them. They just want to replace the fixtures that do not accommodate an LED light bulb. And we could write to the co-op and say we support that, please move forward.
But you want a letter from the town, is what you're saying?
Yes.
That's your request.
To the co-op.
Consensus?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're good with a consensus? A consensus is enough? We don't need a motion and a vote? All right. You have a consensus of the board.
So the second part of that, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. Now come in with the second part.
Okay, so the second part of the LED is to we looked at the highway department, because that is the building that kind of has the oldest fixtures and,
Inside the building?
correct.
Okay.
Maybe outside too. There might be some outside lighting. Yeah, so we talked to Joe, and then had Bert Sutcliffe, who's kind of consulting with us, go down and look at the highway department. He assessed the lights and came up with a draft budget. If he were to replace all the fixtures to accommodate LED light bulbs, the cost would be approximately $2,750. So that's $2,750 after rebates, which are going to run out the end of this year, possibly. And they would save about $700 a year in power. So that's about a 3.5-year payback. Now, I know there's been a lot of conversation about the highway department building, so I don't know whether the board wants us to proceed. And if so, I think we would also need your blessing to get a solid number from Bert and to proceed and get it in the budget. Joe and I spoke about it this morning. I mean, there's not probably $2,750 sitting around. Or maybe there is, I don't know.
Have a bake sale.
Not in our pocket. Yeah, big
I'll
sale.
put the money up, how's that sound? Joe?
So I had that conversation, and so the thing is, you know, it sounds well, but if you're gonna sign off on it, I need to make sure that I have that kind of money in my budget first. So, you know, if it's something you wanna move forward with, I need time to execute it, to find the money.
And let me just be clear, we'd have to come up with the full amount and then we get a rebate.
Do you know what the full amount is?
Just over $5,000.
Oh, okay.
Second paragraph.
Yeah, it's a guess.
Oh, yeah, 5,500 is the, yeah, I see.
Can we have the co-op do it for free?
Oh, we wish.
So how much time does it take to do this changeover? What did Bert offer you for a quote?
A quote for timing? He could do it this fall.
Okay. So it is something that would be in this year's budget then, not next year's.
And it might actually save us more because the electric rates are higher.
Oof.
Who knows?
I think that, I guess a concern that I had is that the highway department wasn't aware that this was taking place.
Okay.
So when we brought this to Joe this morning, when we received the email, he really hasn't had time to understand everything that's going on. So if we can just hold off on doing anything for a few weeks. till the next
Maybe
meeting.
I'm confused. Which part was not in the loop?
He didn't realize that Bert was coming down to look at the property. He wasn't there when Bert was there. He wants to be more involved in in that process, so.
We had a conversation at the back of the room, our last select board meeting, so I understood that we informed Joe, but maybe there was confusion around that.
Right. So if we could wait until the next meeting to make any decision on that, we'd appreciate that.
That's fair. Table it for a future meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So the second part of our conversation tonight is around the select board, or the solar array. And I'm just gonna, these were passed out last time. And these are the sites that we looked at. If you could just take one and pass them between you. So you've already seen these. They're basically each site that we've been looking at with the pros and cons. And what the solar contractor, Barrington Power, has done is to go on to look at the cost and kilowatt production and azimuth tilts and rebates for each site. And I don't know if you have a copy of that. I printed some just in case. I did send those to Kathy this morning. Should I pass that second handout out?
We have it, yeah, we do have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. This one. It is attached, they have it.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, we have it.
We do have it.
These are the markings.
And so I guess from here, I want to know if there's any questions about either of the two handouts, and then we can go on to talk about where we are with the rest of the process.
So there's a couple locations on here, like across from the airport, or the Hitchner property. Have those departments been approached at all?
All we've done is to assess at this point town qualified lands.
Oh, okay.
And those
Thank
are
you.
the town qualified land options. So there's no proposal at this point. We're still in the research phase.
Okay, thank you.
So the land above recycling center assumes town responsibility for tree removal. Is that included in the cost?
That is, can you just point out which one you're looking at?
Sure, second from the bottom under ground mounts. Land from recycling center, above recycling center.
So it's not included in the cost.
Okay.
Well, actually, we had a logger who was willing to do all the site work as long as he could log the wood lot, and it wouldn't cost the town anything.
And that was something Neil and I looked at back, or the Plymouth Energy Commission and Neil looked
Yeah,
at
it's,
back in
you know, it's still
2017.
workable.
But we would not get any revenue from that logging, is that what you're saying?
Well, you're gonna get the excavation.
Was stump removal as well?
Stump
Is that-
Yeah,
removal.
whatever needs to be done.
Site work. So it's sort of like we're paying in,
Paying in wood.
yeah.
It's a trade-off.
But is it a trade-off? Is it a
Oh,
fair
yeah.
trade-off?
Yeah. The timber isn't really that valuable up there because not too many years ago, it was high-graded. I've been all over that lot. But, you know, the logger has to make something. You know, it cost him a lot to operate. But he's willing to do the excavating too. And we figured that it wasn't gonna cost the town anything to get the site work done and have all the trees cut.
And just as a note, the bottom line on that same sheet, landfill at recycling, we actually walked up on top of the capped landfill, and there's a decent site there for a decent-sized array. The permitting would be tricky. And so we're kind of setting that aside for right now, which is why you see zeros there.
I thought it was for free.
You'd have to have a drainage plan.
Of all that, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, is there any questions about those two sheets so far?
No.
Okay, and again, this is all just research. From that, what we did was actually, and who I think is here virtually, and Maggie and I met, and we drafted a warrant article. And that might be in your packet as well. There is a correction I want to make on your copy. And that's in the second line. The town, we estimate that the town uses, we use 3 years of data, uses about 450,000 kilowatt hours per year. So it's not 450 kilowatts. So this is just a draft warrant so far. There's some pretty exciting news coming out right now from the Inflation Reduction Act. Pretty amazing news. I literally just got a call from Barrington Power, Ted Van Zant, from who we're working with, that there could be up to 30% grant funding for projects like this for nonprofits, which we would be considered. And on top of that, still a rebate to the town. So that's why we're not identifying any financing right now, because that's just kind of that whole program is rolling out right now. The tricky part is that there may not be details out for up to 6 months to nail down and get applications together so that municipalities and other nonprofits can apply. But what we'd like to do is move towards finalizing this warrant such that we could have a hearing this fall with options for funding and a possible site.
Does this warrant as written work?
I don't know. I haven't really thoroughly reviewed everything, but we, as we always do, we would run that by legal counsel.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the idea of funding something with a cost reduction.
We would actually fund it at 100%, and anything we get to offset it would be great.
Right, but you'd have to word that differently in the warrant, right? The warrant would have to say, we're going to expend
Raise and
raise and appropriate $650,000
Yes.
to install this, right? Because as written, that's not.
Okay, that's not what it says. So
Okay.
what the
Right.
question is, yeah. What is SB? I guess.
Select board.
Select board. Thank you.
Sorry. That's you guys. Which we can certainly spell out.
So is the board willing to go through with a solar array be putting on town property this year? Or 2 years out, 3 years out? Are you willing to pursue putting in a warrant article?
Want a motion?
I'd like to make a comment if I could.
Yeah, please.
So
Identify yourself for
I'm
the
sorry,
minutes. Thank you.
Maggie Mumford. I'm a member of the Energy Commission and of the subcommittee that's been working on potential funding and potential sites for the project. And the type of funding is not mentioned because there are 3 different possibilities, and those are indeed outlined. A power purchase agreement. I'm sorry?
They have them on the copy.
Right, right. A power purchase agreement or the municipal loan, or potentially grants, but grants won't cover it all. Clearly, they wouldn't, and she just mentioned the 30%. But we are not expecting the town to have the expenditure of over $600,000. That is not part of the request.
We still have to appropriate it in the budget
You
process.
still have to put that amount on the warrant.
On the warrant, we do have to have the number because we were following models of multiple other towns that did not have a number on it at all. It was just approving contracting. And
Are you going to be, when would this solar array be put up?
the hope would be to put it up in the fall of 2023.
Okay, who's going to pay for that?
If it's a PPA, it would be Barrington Power. The town would be leasing the property to Barrington Power, whatever site it is. There is upfront cost in terms of an interconnection agreement, and Barrington Power has already agreed that that could be absorbed, that and any site work costs and any other extraneous costs, as in potentially engineering, could be absorbed into the actual PPA itself, so that the town would not have capital expenditures.
So the town wouldn't own the array. They
In
Barrington Power
that
would
case, the town would not own the array.
Okay.
If we did a municipal loan, the town would own the array. With the PPA, the power purchase agreement, the town has the option after 6 years of, any time after 6 years for the lifetime of this agreement, which is usually 25 to 35 years, the town could opt to purchase it at a fair market value, which is negotiated between Barrington Power and the town. And I'm identifying Barrington Power because in the process that we went through over the past few months, they were the contractor that we agreed to further explore this possibility.
If there's any expense associated at all with this project on behalf of the town, we have to put money in the budget to allow us to expend.
But it sounds like that's not the deal. It sounds like Barrington Power is going to do.
She keeps saying possibly.
Hold on.
Possibly.
So if we choose to go with a power purchase agreement, there would be no out of cost to the town. They would build it, fund it, maintain it, and the town has the option to buy it after 6 years.
So if they build it, fund it, maintain it, what is the net positive for the town? Why are we doing this?
In theory, it's a reduction in dollars per kilowatt hour.
So they guarantee a
Get a fixed rate?
kilowatt
What do we
per
currently
hour
pay roughly?
fixed
It
rate.
wouldn't be a fixed rate, but.
Okay.
What do we pay roughly today?
Right now, we're paying 0.074, but it's going up significantly. I don't know if you recall the broker numbers that we went through a couple months ago. I mean,
So we pay
7.5 cents.
per kilowatt hour?
Correct.
And
Yeah, not the transmission, the delivery.
Correct.
whatever
We
the-
still pay a co-op
under a
fee.
power purchase agreement, what will we pay per kilowatt hour with Barrington?
We are still crunching those numbers.
I think that's an important thing that people will want to see.
Yeah, I mean, we're not
to
done
get-
with this.
To see
Yeah.
why we're doing this. Because if we're getting very little, if it doesn't change our cost much, then there's no reason to give an entity such as Barrington Power free power if it doesn't benefit us.
That's only one option for
Right.
funding, right?
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be my preferred, but that's me, just as a taxpayer, not as a PEC member or anybody else.
But if you're gonna do a municipal loan, the actual dollar amount's gotta be there, or we can't appropriate it in the budget.
Right, understood.
And it's really, you're putting in the entire amount of the loan, but we're actually only raising the cost to pay the loan payment.
So you put in, if we were to decide to go with the municipal loan,
Yep.
we would put the entire cost,
Mm-hmm.
even if we were possibly getting grants, and then you pay down that,
Yes.
okay, got it.
Right, so do we usually enumerate it or either like as an annual, we say
We say first payment of
first pay,
5-year lease or. second
five-year
payment, whatever, yeah.
loan with a,
Whatever
first
it is.
payment of,
I don't know, Ann, if you saw my email, because I was trying to get with you to talk about all this before. And I know you've been busy.
So
maybe we could sit down
The
and
audit is
chat.
taking precedence, I'm sorry.
Correct.
I didn't hear what she said.
So we're assuming that it would be the cost plus interest.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
That's what, yeah. And so Ann's outstanding question, I guess, is the select board interested in moving forward with this kind of a proposal? With a warrant going on the 2023 meeting.
I'm in support of it. I'd still want to see the
There's-
details.
Right, there's more details that we're still looking for. Under the power purchase agreement, what's the dollar we'd be paying versus what we pay currently?
Mhm.
If it's a municipal loan, how much are we talking about appropriating? I think those are the two outstanding questions.
Yeah, they're the only two that are, A and B are the only options because C
And
is
C is like-
really B.
Yes, we support any cost reduction that could be done with loans, yeah. I mean, not with grants.
Okay, got it.
So
we're- so
do
we're
you need a
trying to-
vote or consensus?
We're just trying to narrow some of
One
this.
second, Grace. Any objection or concern about consensus at this? Okay, you have consensus with those two caveats.
Okay, great. We'll come back.
Did you have another comment? I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Balloon plus interest.
So, well, she's thinking we were hoping that you would come back in October to decide whether we're going to go with New Hampshire Electric Co-op until everything is up and running. But our power bill here at Town Hall just doubled.
Yeah.
Or if we were going to enter into potentially one more year if we could, get a better rate. But I don't know if you're getting good rates now or not.
So most of the brokers are saying they wouldn't give you any kind of a decent break if you're only going for a year. And why did the power bill double?
Their expenses, we just got.
Fuel.
I mean, it's not, the cost per kilowatt shouldn't change.
77%.
77%.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're under contract with Constellation that they're
Right,
guaranteeing
but the
us.
delivery charge changed
Oh,
from.
got it.
co-op.
Yeah, got it. Sorry. Our bill went up too. I just wanted to make sure that Constellation wasn't doing
Constellation is
something they
not
weren't
going up.
supposed to do. And Maggie had another comment. Is that okay about?
Yeah, please.
this process?
I just wanted to make the comment that there's no perfect site, and we don't have a hidden agenda about what site we want, because there is no perfect site. Some of them, it's going to be harder to come up with an exact pricing because it is dependent upon interconnection fees, and those interconnection fees can be unpredictable in terms of the work that might need to be done if there's only single phase, for instance. So it's a composite of priorities, and that's what we're working through now, is trying to figure out what would be the most cost effective for the town, given that no site is perfect. We do not have a massive building with a great south facing roof that was just built 2 years ago. We just don't have that.
None of these covers the 450,000 kilowatt hours. Does that mean we would be proposing 2 locations?
We have talked about like a roof mount and a ground mount, possibly at the police department. Although there's some issues with, if you stand at the police department and look from the road, there's a bunch of big pine trees up on the adjacent parcel that kind of, and I think it might be the same parcel that slopes up.
It is.
So if you could take some of those pines down to get better production. So that's that possibility we're still looking at.
But it's still not great production because the roof aspect is not the best. So you still would lose some afternoon. So, and one other thing. The ground mounts, it looks like could be lots of room for a much bigger array out by the airport. That might be constrained by the type of service, by single phase instead of 3-phase.
Yep.
So there are different constraints at different sites that we're working through.
Which we hope we outlined on that.
Yeah, I think you did in the comments.
Great.
Any other questions before we go?
Joe had another question.
Yeah, so, I mean, I see that Hutchins is on this site, and today was the first day that I was even aware that was plausible. And for my department, we lost ground when water and sewer took away from us, and so Hutchins is our saving grace. That is our only other place for where we collect ourselves and do our business. So I see they got a big black, it looks like that site's a big thing for these people to do. For me, if you take that away from me, you just keep taking away from my department.
I totally appreciate Joe's concern. We looked at it with Bill and with Neil. There's actually room for both, which is kind of cool.
Well, maybe we can walk it with Joe or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
again,
before we make
This is all
before we
research.
make or commit to any of these
Oh,
locations, I'd really love for the board to walk the site.
Okay.
And any department managers who are interested or affected.
Is it worth putting that in the calendar at this point? Because if you're going to take stuff off
it depends on how close you are to making a recommendation. If it's pretty close, then yeah, I think let's get something on the calendar.
Yeah, I think we're pretty close. And honestly, if
And
there's stuff that's going to be taken off our radar. Would prefer to know that.
Sooner than later?
Yeah. Again, we were directed by the warrant article from 2022 to look at town qualified lands. So, and this is what we came up with.
Yeah, I think that's great. Let's get something on the calendar then.
We literally went down through all the lists of town-owned lands and looked at the acreage, and then a couple of us visited many sites.
Yeah.
Just to try to figure out what was.
No, the legwork you all have done here it's fantastic and well appreciated.
Had to narrow it down for sure.
Absolutely.
So how would we? Who would I coordinate to get that on the calendar to go with the select board?
Ann and Kathy.
We'll set it up.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch with you.
Okay. Yeah, just probably a couple
We'll have to
dates
notice it, but
might work so that we know what the option. Thank you very, very much.
yeah, that's great. I really appreciate all the research your group has done. Okay. That's it for new business. And the old business list is shorter. Nick Coates, Grafton County Grant Contact Information, NHEC.
He did not respond back to me that he would be here. So we'll put him, no, he's not on.
Okay.
Put him on the next meeting.
So we'll defer that one, and I guess we've
Jim
got
is still
Jim.
on.
Jim, I think he got muted. Maybe if Jim unmutes, we
He's
can.
unmute.
Hey, Jim.
Hello?
How are you?
Good, you?
Good.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay. Oh, I don't look that great, but I sound great.
It's a step anyway.
other matter.
So we're revisiting the removal of trash receptacles on Main Street.
Correct.
Where are we at with that?
Well, I would just present back to the board like I did before, that it's just been overrun with trash and people are just cleaning out their cars on Main Street.
Yeah, I
And
think we
get to be-
just did we decide to defer this specifically because Mary Ann was not present? Yes.
I think so.
It was convenient that I
Correct.
wasn't here. I'm only-
That's why we deferred it.
Yes.
So we wanted to get, and honestly, we should have taken this earlier in the call since we had some Main Street folks
Right.
in the audience. But before we completely removed trash from trash receptacles from downtown, we kind of wanted to get your perspective on what you think that would mean, or how that would perhaps go over with.
Sure, so I'm a little tainted.
Given that
I have interest. So I did put a question out to many of the business owners on Main Street. Didn't get much of a reply. Some were actually wondering on South Main Street why we don't have more receptacles on South Main Street, which seems to be valid. Hopefully we don't, or we're not entertaining getting rid of the receptacles actually on the common.
That's exactly what the proposal is.
Okay.
To remove them entirely from downtown so that it becomes a carry in, carry out.
I can't imagine that. Those get overflowed all the time. They need to be emptied a few times during the week, especially during the summer. There's a lot of activity on the common. I just had dinner there last night. We did carry in and carry out, but I don't think most people it's gonna follow that way. I mean, we still have a trash problem even with the limited receptacles we have now. I'm always picking up trash in front of my shop, and I know others are doing the same. So I think overall, and once again, it was only a few people who responded back, but it was actually a request to increase it, once again, especially on South Main Street. Jim, I don't know the costs involved. I think it was $1,000 a year so far.
It's $1,000 for trash bags. We send 2 guys out every day in the summer, except for Mondays, because we're closed, for 45 to 50 minutes.
So it seems to me $1,000 is not a
That's
whole
just the
heck
trash
of a
bag.
lot of
That's
money.
just the bag. Not the labor.
Understood, but $5,000 to keep the town
I mean-
clean.
50, twice, two.
I made up a number, but
More
worst
than
case
that.
scenario.
Why should the recycling center be in charge of picking up trash on Main Street? You know, I live in Lincoln and Woodstock, and there's no trash cans in any park up and down Main Street, and there's no trash on the road. And I've been to other communities. I think there's only one in Ashland at the ballpark, and there's nothing on the Main Street of Ashland. So why can't these business owners have their trash cans and take care of their trash on their own?
So once again, what would that do for the town common?
That should go in the park and rec, because that's not part of the solid waste facility.
A whole other conversation.
I mean, if people respect the town, they should carry in, carry out.
Unfortunately, that's not even happening right now.
It has or hasn't been happening.
It has not.
Yeah, it has not, because there's no signage on the common, and, you know, maybe we should look at signage, carry in, carry out. And if you want to eat Chinese food, ice cream, or pizza on the Main Street, when I go out to eat, I like to eat in a restaurant, not go sit in a common and just throw my trash either on the ground or on top of a trash can that's already full. So maybe that could beautify the Main Street of Plymouth a little bit better. Carry in, carry out.
It's not that I think that we have to look like Meredith, but what does like Meredith do? I bet you they probably have trash cans along their roads.
I don't remember.
You know, because we're more of a tourist town. And I think if we don't provide, you know, some.
We're definitely more of a, comparing us against Ashland's probably a little strange, but Lincoln,
that's true,
Lincoln's
too.
pretty comparable.
Lincoln and Woodstock's a big tourist town, and there's not a single trash can on Main Street of both towns or in any of their parks.
I think this might require some more investigation versus just coming up with a reaction right now.
Can he hear you?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Well, I'll step farther away then.
Yeah, but it's a tricky issue for sure.
Because we've had it.
Because we've had it. If they were never there and it was all working fine, then it would be a non-issue.
But even the trash cans we have are not pretty.
No.
True.
Right.
May I speak?
Yeah, please.
We have eliminated one trash can in Plymouth,
Really, which one?
over by the park and ride, or by the roundabout. You know, where you park behind Smaha's?
Yeah.
That used to be the second biggest one, and nobody's complained about that.
Interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting data point.
That was
What's the trash look like?
more for people walking their dogs and throwing dog poop and everything else in there.
Yeah, no. Like the mattresses, I didn't notice either, which apparently were all over town.
Yeah.
He can't hear you.
Yeah,
What
you're-
was that?
No, so we were wondering, what's the trash look like now that you've removed the receptacle?
Nothing. There's been no trash on the ground at the roundabout by the, where you pay to park behind Smaha's. Zero. We check that every time we go down Main Street.
You mentioned that people throw dog poop in the that trash can, but
They used to, they don't now.
Yeah, it's probably like in the knotweed by the river, because if it's not
Hoping
there.
it to grow.
Yeah, because I mean, if you go on hiking trails, you just see like dog crap all over the place in bags, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Do we have littering fines imposed?
Probably an ordinance, yeah.
There's probably some on the books, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I
Don't
haven't
enforce
seen
them.
any signs. What does Lincoln do? Do they have littering signs?
No. They have no littering signs in both Lincoln and Woodstock. Except for the lower Woodstock, Staple Rock Park is carry in, carry out, and they have a cop down there on Sundays that checks people. And there has been no trash in the last 2 years down there.
Yeah, we used to have a barrel out in front of our shop, and then the receptacles were implemented, so. For us either way.
How many are on Main Street?
13.
That was a lot.
In front of Rand's and the ice cream shop, we get people emptying out their apartments. We've had bookcases in there, we've had shoes, we have clothes, we've had stuff on the side of it.
That's right, because there's residential above those.
Right.
I think
Yeah,
if you put a
and so-
dumpster, if you had a dumpster, they'd fill that.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
Put it
Well,
out
we could
back.
we could put a dumpster on Main Street.
Right in front of
Right in
the ice
front of
cream
the
shop.
shop.
They can throw their furniture in there.
No, because then
put
you
it out
take a
back.
parking spot away.
Right in the parking spot. No parking, only garbage.
It's crazy. Sorry, now I'm coughing.
I mean, people are emptying their cars out. Is there a Starbucks in Plymouth?
No.
Not yet.
One at the campus, isn't there?
No, that's it.
Oh, there is.
So we're getting
Yeah.
Not really.
people emptying their trash out in their cars. And I don't think that's fair to the recycling center to go pick that stuff up. To
So,
pick
I'm
up
sorry.
somebody else-
Are we just talking the Common or all of Main Street?
Yes.
Main Street.
Everything.
Oh, everything, okay.
All Main Street. Everything, right from Samahas all the way up to the Flying Monkey.
Right.
You guys talked about parking on Main Street. Well, look at the people who gotta come pick the trash up. That's not fair to us. We have other stuff to do at the recycling center other than going up every day in the summertime to pick up somebody else's trash. I mean, it's a shame on people that we have to do that. That's our job. You go pick the trash up every day in the summertime, and we pick it up scattered across the common, picking up on Main Street, because we try to make Main Street look good, but that's not our job. We have other stuff to be doing, not just picking up after, whether it's the businesses or people just emptying their car out because, we don't care about this. We'll either throw it on the ground or leave it on the side of the road. But I try to make my guys make Main Street look good. And it's getting to be not very good because people just don't care. And they think the recycling, they'll pick that up. We go pick the skate park up. We go down and pick the skate park up. And that sometimes is a disaster. But we do it because I care about the town of Plymouth. And I don't even live there.
Now, there's no trash receptacle at the skate park?
Nope, they throw it outside in a bag.
So we have one
But
side
we
of
go down there.
we have North Main Street
What's
where
that?
we have North Main Street where we removed a trash receptacle and we don't have a trash problem. So that's a point in favor of removing trash receptacles. And then at South Main Street at the skate park, we have no trash receptacle and we have a problem there with trash, which is
Yeah, they
a
just,
point in the opposite direction.
they'll throw it outside in a bag, but we still have to pick it up.
Do you think it's people who use a skate park, or just people that find a dark corner to throw it in?
I mean, they probably use a skate park, and there's a lot of beer drinking down there, so they throw it in a bag and just throw it over the fence, and we pick it up. Because we don't pick anything up inside the fence. If they put it in the bag, they'll throw it out, and we'll pick it up.
So were you also suggesting that you would stop picking up the skate park?
I would. You know,
That one seems much more likely that Parks and Rec should be taking care of that,
Yeah, I
shouldn't it?
Yeah, that, you know, that's
I would agree.
out of town.
So could we, I know Jim held on tonight for quite a long time, but could we have Jim come in with Park and Rec, or I'm sorry, Recreation at the next meeting, and have a full discussion as to what
I don't think we want recreation. I think we want parks.
you want parks, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
we want parks.
Yep.
Have Robert come in and see if potentially or have the two of them have a conversation
Ahead of time.
before the meeting.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. If Jim and name just escaped me, Robert could have a conversation. I mean, maybe it's a non-issue. Maybe Jim and Robert talk, and Robert's like, "Oh yeah, Parks and Rec will just take that, and we're fine." My guess is it's not going to play out quite that way. At which point, I think it makes sense for all of us to talk. But let's give interdepartmental relations an opportunity to work first. I mean, maybe Highway wants to pick up the trash. It sounds like Joe's got some thoughts.
I'd like to give you a perspective
No.
of what I see.
Got a mic? He
Yes.
does.
Okay.
So for Highway, I come in every day, and especially on a Monday, the first thing I see is all those trash cans are overloaded in the common.
Yep.
And so, you know, these guys don't work Monday, so that stuff sits there until Tuesday. But the thing that I'm concerned is if they decide to pull those trash cans, then who ends up picking all that trash up that gets thrown around Main Street? Because Highway has been, you know, we get calls all the time for tipped over trash cans, and we pick them up, but we don't like make the phone call to the recycling. We just go out and we do it. You know, so we pick up our share and put it in the things when we're on Main Street sweeping or whatever we do. So I see his point, but I also don't want it to backfire, and you know, the common, I kind of up in the air about what you do there, because you have all those weekend events, and I don't know, you get rid of them.
Or does Parks and Rec bring in a trash can while they're running an event, and when the event's over, they take the trash can with them? These are all good questions. I think the thing that resonates most with me about what Jim is saying is that his department is the recycling center. And what we're talking about here is town sanitation. It's not the recycling center. Now, you could expand the scope to say Jim's department is the recycling center and town sanitation. But this is the only, it's kind of a weird thing that's been bolted on to the responsibilities over there. And maybe it makes sense, but when we're asking the departments to find ways to save money, a proposal to save $1,000 on trash bags for a part of your operation that isn't on paper part of your operation, pretty valid proposal that I think we should be serious about.
It's not just $1,000 of trash bags, it's
All
also
the time and
staff time.
attention. Yeah, all the time and attention.
Okay, can I speak?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so what if one of my guys go in there, they're reaching around the trash cans that are overfilled and poke themselves with a needle that they don't see? How are we gonna address that? Because you gotta put that on the table.
Same way that they encountered it at the recycling center, I would think.
Well, we don't see that because people just throw their trash away. But if you're going and push down a trash bag on the main street and there might be a needle there and they put it through their glove.
Yep.
Or pick something up, what are we gonna do when that comes about for a problem?
And that's not gonna change no matter what department takes care of
Doesn't
the
matter.
trash.
Right. It's always true.
That's what I mean.
So would we be looking for a department to take on sanitation, or do we just see how it goes?
Or we reduce the amount of sanitation we're doing, or I don't know.
If it was me, I'd pull them off Main Street. I know everybody's in disagreement about that. And you guys ultimately make that decision, and we'll pick it up 6 days a week in the summertime. And we'll do that, but I don't think it is it that much of a deal?
Well, I think there's really,
to take them off?
you've given us three questions, though. The first is, do we have trash cans on Main Street? The second is, do we have trash cans on the common? And if so, whose responsibility is that? And also, whose responsibility is it to clean the skate park from that trash? And those could all just be, yeah, we put the recycling center is responsible for all these things, and we get clear about it. Or it could be that we rethink each of those individually.
I'd rethink of it all as one.
Well, you don't, even if you take the trash cans off of Main Street and you take the trash cans off the recycling center, it doesn't answer the question of who cleans the skate park, because you can't just let it turn into a pus hole.
I get that, but on the skate park side of the fence, if you're on the other side of the fence, skate park, we're liable for that. On the outside of the skate park, if there's a bag there, we take care of it.
Who's we?
As far as the
Recycling.
or recycling. The recycling center takes care of the skate park if it's on outside of the fence. We do not pick anything up inside the fence.
Well, I'd definitely like to hear from Parks Department.
Okay.
So do you want Jim to meet with Robert between now and the next meeting and come back? We'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
So that Robert comes in fully briefed on what we're talking about.
Jim, can you do that?
I can.
Thank you.
Sorry to kick it down the road on you again, Jim.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. I don't. And I'll just go. It is what it is. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I appreciate all the board being there.
Thank you for joining us.
We appreciate all you do, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
No PSU update. On to committee reports. Village Water and Sewer, Mary Ann.
So I didn't attend the last meeting, I was on vacation, but the meeting before that, interesting talk about the new well that they're trying to develop by the Holderness school area. It started back in 2018, back and forth. There was new regulation that was put into place, that stalled things. So what they want to do, there's a well on Foster Street now, so that they want to put a second one, of course, by the Holderness school. They found a good spot for that. They're still waiting for funding and grants to come through for that project. But pretty interesting that we only have one well in town, kind of scary.
There's 2 wells.
What's the second one?
Foster Street. There's 2 wells on Foster
Oh,
Street.
there are 2 wells on Postal.
Yeah, but they're compromised.
Then across the river, there was
Right.
going to be 3 wells. And those, I think, are already done.
Those wells on Foster Street are compromised.
Well, but the kind of like the solution to pollution. Dilution, you keep on pumping water out of there, chlorine, sodium and chlorine goes down. And so, yeah, they've got a lot of like salt that's been infiltrating into it. But the ones across in Holderness,
They're not done yet.
we
What's
tested
wrong
them
with that
like
new
years
well?
ago. What's that?
What's wrong with that new well?
Well, they had 3, I thought they had 3,
In Holderness?
wells over in Holderness. And we looked at
In
the
this
site.
last
we
meeting,
tested.
they do not have that second one that third one in Holderness, so maybe I'm misunderstanding. There was quite the conversation around that.
Had 'em drilled.
And the grant.
And we tested the flow, it was a couple of years ago. So I'm kind of surprised that
Yeah,
you're saying that it's
I'll
not
find
there.
out more for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Or from Jason, I'll give him a call.
In fact, they were making a deal with Holderness, the town of.
Right.
And I think that I thought they were getting their water.
I'll reach back out to Jason. That's all I have.
Neil, planning
Is
board.
that it?
Yep.
Oh. Okay, on August 18th, we had a planning board meeting. The first presentation was Sandra Jones and Tripp Anderson for the Plymouth Area Renewable Energy Initiative. They have entered into a partnership with Alex Ray to develop what's formerly been known as Toby's Motel and Restaurant. And they presented a site plan to have office space and a farmer's market pavilion and make some changes. And the site plan was approved with conditions if the site is subdivided. The next one was a lot line adjustment.
Where is that exactly, Neil?
The corner of Fairground Road and Route 3 North.
Oh, okay.
It's got that giant
Yep.
motel sign.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
And the second one was a lot line adjustment, which had been conditionally approved for what was formerly known as George's Realty and Ekman Engineering. Property, they never completed their conditions, and property was sold, and after a long discussion, it was decided that we revoke their approval. They're going to have to come in and the new owner's going to have to come in and apply again. Then we had a discussion of new site plan review regulations and scheduled public hearings for September 1st and 15th. Joseph Perez presented the New Hampshire Housing Opportunity Planning Grants, which we heard about tonight. And they will be incorporated into the master plan, which was approved in 2018. The data that they get. The capital improvement program review will be presented on September 1st, and that was it.
Great. We've had a ton of questions online about what's going on, like what's going on with the Riverside Landing 2 development, right? That's now actively under development. Do we know what
development?
Riverside Landing 2, the
Riverside
expansion, or
Landing?
phase 2 of Riverside Landing, rather.
Okay.
We know.
It's my understanding that they have all their permits. There has to be a final inspection by the town.
But there's like
logging.
6 or 7 different building lots that are going in there for businesses. Do we know which businesses those are going to be?
And I showed 2 buildings and a parking lot near the road.
I thought there was 6 buildings going in there.
That was not that one. That was behind, his proposed plan behind Harris Furniture.
Right. That's the other one, but
So the one behind Harris Furniture is Riverside Landing 2, and then
Joseph
this
can
one
answer.
is Riverside Landing Phase 2.
So Riverside Landing Phase 2 is what's behind and around where everyone's talking about.
Between Dunkin' Donuts and Market Basket.
Yep, that's right. So right now, actually, all that's going on is timber clearing to make way. There is a site plan that was conditionally approved out there, like I said, for raising it up to create a couple of different development pads along sort of the Tenny Mountain Highway area. But at this point, there is not a development agreement in place. So that site work is not to start yet, but essentially we're just a few things that need to get done before that happens. But the clearing and timber cutting, that's all sort of outside the scope of site plan and everything. So there's no specific business tied to anything, and still a few things that need to be met before he can start raising it up to create those development pads. But he did get, he went through the intent to cut and went through DOT to get that driveway permit for the timber clearing at this point.
Gotcha. So there's no current planned businesses for the space. It's just preparing for a future.
Yep, that's right. To sort of lay the groundwork, I guess, now to, once that is in place, to raise them up.
What happened to the other plan across the street behind the drugstore and Harris Furniture that had been proposed?
Yeah, we saw some conceptual plans. I know the developer has provided some of those. Right now we don't have any applications for that or anything. Those were never formally submitted. Just brought them up as concept plans. I think he had 2 or 3 different concepts drawn up, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he have a name for that?
I think it. I know it's a Riverside Landing phase something. It's some iteration of that, but I don't recall the name. I could
The
look.
sign says Riverside Landing 2 on it.
Yeah. So there's really nothing happening there right now.
Nothing right now. That no applications anyway. Nothing definite.
Since we're on this particular developer, do you know what the status is with Rap City?
Yes, the Rap City. We had some discussions just last week, actually. They've had a real heck of a time with their, cost of materials and getting a contractor in and site work. So there's been a lot of whether or not, the developer or the, I guess you could say the future owner of the franchise is interested, committed to the project, but right now they're still trying to get everything in place to even get that site work done. As to whether it'll be done this season, it's very possible, but that's going to depend on where where that comes in at with ability to get site work done and the price of materials being so volatile. But it is very possible we could see them move into the next phase this season. It's also possible that there could need to be an extension.
Okay. Thanks, Joseph.
Every contractor I know is overbooked.
Makes sense. Campus Community Council meeting tomorrow night, 5:15. PA4.
Is it 4:15?
5:15.
5:15 on Plymouth State campus in the
Hage
Hage Room. Yes.
Hartman Union Building.
Hartman Union Building. Yep.
For those who are listening.
School district. So PES met on August 8th. I was unable to attend for multiple reasons. We had a select board meeting that night, and I was out of town. But it was mostly a lot of talk about school startup and dates. I would encourage anyone who has kids in the school to get all of those dates either from the calendar or I wanted a quick shout out to Dan has been doing a This Week in Plymouth, 8 to 10 minute summary of everything that's happening on all the different boards and all the stuff he's been recording, and that's really must watch if you're engaged in the town of Plymouth. So check that out. He edited down Principal Orlando's list of dates and things from probably 20 minutes of her talking through all the things down to here are the 6 dates you need to hear, and he edited it down really nice. So encourage folks to check that out. He's doing a really great job with those. and he can try to edit down all of what we talked about this evening into as short a recap as he can. But that's PES. Ted, high school?
I don't remember when their next meeting is, so I'm going to have to look.
It's probably coming soon, I would think.
It might have already passed and I didn't realize it.
Oh, could have. Yeah, because they're just doing school startup stuff again right now. School starts next week.
Yeah, Monday.
You know better than I.
Monday the 29th.
29th, yeah.
They did have a meeting last week because it was the same night as the CIP meeting.
Oh, okay.
The high school did.
Yeah. Conservation Commission, Neil.
Well, and we started off with the budget changes to account descriptions. The maintenance fund was rolled into the conservation fund. And if you add that to the general fund and the capital reserve fund, the Conservation Commission has $38,000 in the bank. So they're trying to be financially, careful with their investments. They're working on that joint project with Holderness at the what they call the Big Oxbow across the river. Plymouth owns land on the other side of the Pemigewasset River, where the river actually jumped its channel, some decades back, and they're having some good luck with grant applications with the state and federal government. There's a piece of land right next to it that is adjacent to the Oxbow property, which belonged to the Plymouth Athletic Club, and it was sold to a company called Fowl Incorporated, and I believe Chris Mayhew is principal. There's 32 acres, and I don't think they plan on developing it. They're going to leave it natural. Ina Ahern's been working on a new site for Plymouth Conservation Commission to be installed on the town website, and it covers invasive species trail maps and other activities of the Conservation Commission. We had a motion to approve this version of the website, and so I guess that's going to be implemented. Natural scientist by the name of Matt Tarr is going to be speaking. I know Matt Tarr personally. He's going to be speaking on Wednesday, August 24th, at the Bog House in Quincy Bog at 7 p.m. It doesn't cost anything to go. I don't know how many people
What's the
know
date
where
on
the
that?
Bog House is, but it's a great opportunity to hear a very knowledgeable speaker.
What was the date?
August 24th, Wednesday. That's 2 days, 7 p.m. No charge. We're working on a Facebook site. Melissa Eulery, she teaches at the university, is working on setting it up, and we have an invasive committee for invasive vegetation, and we've made invasive vegetation a priority, and educating the public and eliminating some of the really aggressive vegetation like Oriental bittersweet and Japanese knotweed and it's really getting to be a serious problem in our town. There was discussion about mountain bikers. We're encouraging mountain bikers, but we have to keep hikers and mountain bikers on separate trails, because mountain bikers, I guess they go fast, and they can run over hikers. So that's kind of a safety issue that we're working on with signage. And we don't have any current applications. We're working on talking with a landowner on New Hebron Road who owns 25 acres along Clay Brook and that abuts some of our land. It's encouraging, possibly we'll get an agreement. We just have to work it out.
Good. Anything else?
That's it.
Questions for Neil, anybody?
Which side of Clay Brook?
It would be on the south side.
Okay. Keep on going, you'll hit my property.
The land goes almost all the way to Old Hebron Road. It goes from New Hebron Road almost all the way to, you know, when you go down, say you go up Texas Hill Road and you take a right and go down the hill. At the bottom of the hill is a bridge. That's Clay Brook.
Yep.
So it would be on the south side.
Okay.
And it goes almost all the way, 25 acres, or 26 acres, goes almost all the way up to, and we have land that abuts it that we got from Bobbers.
Right, okay, gotcha.
So, I guess we're kind of like dreaming about maybe having a trail that goes all the way down Clay Brook to Tenny Mountain Highway, and then we could connect to the other trail.
Well, then you are going to my property at what?
It's just kind of like chug and plug.
Any interest in providing a trail easement?
Sure, if the price is right.
How's your need, Bill?
Capital improvement, we wrapped up the first draft plan, projecting out 10 years? 10? 6. We went with 6. So 6-year plan. We discussed it last Wednesday? I don't know. Feels like yesterday and an eternity ago. Very detailed meeting. All the department heads were there. We went through everything for all the departments and to see if all the capital items that they were considering and planning were accounted for. So we've got a great inventory now with a first draft plan. Well, I guess an approved plan actually that will have a public hearing. I mentioned earlier. We're gonna have a public hearing on that on September 1st.
They'll be talking about it the first day.
So there's 2 hearings on it, it's on the agenda twice. And then once planning board approves that plan, assuming they do, then it'll come to us for, to be a budget planning tool as we do our budget cycles going forward. So it'll be very interesting to see the budget impact of what's there. I think it's pretty conservative in trying to spread things out over time, but there's a lot. We have a lot of equipment and a lot of roads and a lot of buildings, and the plan's a lot. It's thorough, but it'll be interesting to see how and if we can fund it this year, and if we can fully fund it. That's the update on that. And then so we're kind of as a committee kind of recessed effectively for a bit here, and of course that plan will have to be refreshed annually.
Yep.
LRPC.
We haven't had a meeting lately since I think the annual meeting. We found out that we have some work that LRPC was going to do for a project in Perlac. And apparently that can't happen. There are 2 projects that they're focusing on. They also have like less staff than usual, but they also have a hazardous waste collection that they, takes them a lot of work to bring together and kick it off, similar to what we do with North Country Council.
Yeah, worth just stating for the record, because I saw the big signs up at our recycling center for Hazardous Waste Collection Day. It's
24th of September.
September 24th, which our recycling center won't be closed, but it will have like a delayed opening for household garbage till 1 p.m.
Interesting. Well, I want to see what I can get rid of on the 24th, I guess. So, and they're also like wrapping up their, the housing survey. And so because of all the time that they're expending, unfortunately, the Perlac project is getting dropped. So, and hopefully we'll have a workaround. That's it from LRPC.
Parks and Rec, Ted.
They have not met since last.
Okay, Parking Committee, sounds like you've got a lot of fun ahead of you.
Oh, yeah, it's been fun.
Have they met recently?
No.
It's as the world turns.
It's just
Parking.
day.
It's part of what's special about us. Perlac.
I wasn't there, but apparently Ted can give the report.
I already made a note. It's like, I'm not on this one, so I don't.
And, we actually, I just completed since I'm the secretary of Perlac, I just completed the notes from the minutes from last meeting. And that's where I discovered that, we're not getting the help from LRPC that we should. But what else is coming up on Perlac? We're still doing.
Is LRPC short-staffed?
That's kind of what I think they're staffed as they usually are, but now they have the housing survey piled on top of what they usually do. And, they have new staff. The staff that's now assigned to Perlac, the gentleman is pretty new. His focus is on solid waste. So it's like a learning curve in some regard. We're still doing VRAP, Volunteer River Assessment Program. So we go out and sample Pemmy water. And I believe we have one more time. We do about like 6 times during the summer.
Is the water pretty low?
Oh, it's very low. It's ridiculous. And no rain's helping, so. And any rain that we do get, it just kind of like goes away, so. But it's pretty atrocious. That's it from Perlac.
Still no economic development stuff happening? Energy Commission?
We heard from Energy Commission.
Oh, that's right. That's what Grace and Maggie were giving us all the updates. Advisory Budget Committee, probably
Nothing new.
still resting. And I'm assuming there's nothing on this last item.
It was actually taken off the agenda. I don't know how it got back
Snuck
on.
back on. Okay, so personnel. On to personnel. So we've got a resignation here from Scott Kennison. I will do my best to read this. To whom it may concern, make this a formal resignation letter. August 25th, 2022 will be my last day of employment at the town of Plymouth. Thank you, Scott Kennison. And he is from the Highway Department.
He was offered an extra interview and declined. Said he didn't need one.
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Scott Kennison from the Highway Department.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have another one here. So this is a letter from June Hammond Rowan, Planning and Development Director. Subject line is resignation, and says, due to personal reasons, I am resigning from my full-time position as Planning and Development Director for the town of Plymouth, effective September 16th, 2022. Multiple family member responsibilities and changes that have emerged in the past 5 months make it increasingly difficult for me to continue to serve in this position. There's some other details in here, but that's the key for the resignation component. It does finish with, I have greatly appreciated the opportunity to serve the town of Plymouth. The community is a wonderful place and has so much to offer. So that's the resignation of June.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of June Hammond Rowan as described.
I reluctantly second.
Any discussion?
June's done a great job.
Agreed. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And then we've got a discussion so that town manager search is now actively underway. Position description went out last Thursday?
Yeah, last Wednesday or Thursday with all the changes, and we have found several places that we have advertised, local groups for the position, and I know I got 9 this morning from over the weekend.
9 apps.
Great. 9 apps.
9.
And I got one in email as well, so I think that
Boy,
puts
And
us
I don't know if any came in the mail or.
so. Notice how good they'll be, but out of the gate, at least we've got some people coming in.
Into a fire pit.
Yep. So you
Deal.
were working on.
The grading rubric.
You're still working on that?
Yep. I didn't expect to necessarily have 10 apps by now.
Yeah. So is the plan for the board just to explain to the public how you're going to handle this?
Yeah, so let's talk through, I don't have it written in front of me, but I'll try to recap. Actually, maybe I do have it in front of me from some minutes here, depending on how detailed the minutes were. Sometimes minutes are
I
detailed.
think you put a list on there.
You were worried that you might only get 1 app.
Well, I am worried that we get 1 qualified app.
Yeah.
Just trying to find this real quick. Here it is, from our work
15.
session. So we had a work session, here we go. So we had a work session last week and we approved these minutes earlier. Our plan is, that's the process for writing the thing. Okay, so what we're planning to do is the select board themselves are going to act as the search committee. I'll just remember what we decided. Anybody can tell me if I remember wrong.
That's what I recall.
You're right.
So the select board's going to act as the search committee for this position. We will first screen whatever candidates come in using a rubric that Ted is creating. We'll publish and share what that rubric looks like for anybody who's interested. So we'll do that. If once we've screened those, we find that there's a lot of qualified candidates, we'll do an additional phone screen with the board, interview process as needed. And if the goal being to narrow down to 2 or 3 qualified candidates for the position, at which point we will bring those 2 or 3 qualified candidates to town. We want them to go through a series of different group meetings, and in no particular order. We want to make sure that they get a chance to meet with the department heads that work with the town. We want to be sure that the general employees of town have an opportunity to meet and ask some questions. We want to have a public session for sort of the not the town employees, but the town in general, which will probably include like a presentation and then kind of a question and answer period, both on the presentation and anything you want to know about the candidate. And they'll meet with the board as well. So sort of a fun-filled bank of activities. Each of those candidates, we'll schedule them to come in. We'll have a day, with probably a half day with the candidate where they run through kind of that gauntlet, and then we'll schedule another candidate. We'll run them through that same process. Again, 2 or 3 qualified candidates, lots of public participation and input on that process. And then we'll collect feedback forms from all those people that we had them talk with, and our own notes, and hopefully we'll find a good next person to serve the town. Did I miss anything in that process?
No, I think you covered it.
All right. Anything else on the one question that I actually had is, as the resumes come in, I mean, we don't have the rubric yet, but once we have the rubric, do we want to process those resumes as they come in? Do folks want us to save them until the priority consideration date, and then hand you a packet of all of them in the rubric, and you do them all at once?
I personally would recommend doing them as they come in, as best we can. I need to.
So you don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we have 9 so far, we could have 20.
We could easily have 20.
Yeah. And so get that rubric done, Ted, and start evaluating them versus the rubric.
Okay.
What was our priority date again?
I think I actually moved it, it was the 9th, and we moved it to like the 14th or 15th.
We were looking for roughly to
Yeah,
have the
just
position
another
open 4 weeks, give or take.
So do you want a work session? We have a meeting on the 12th, right? Is the next board meeting?
3 weeks out.
Do you want to have a work session on that following Monday? And then you'll have one again the following week? For discussions, or?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to put a work session in there.
Right. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock? 4?
I can't. Well, maybe we should figure it out, because my Tuesday and Thursday are complicated.
You're talking about Monday, though, right?
I'm talking about Monday.
Oh, Monday? Okay, they're less complicated.
You're talking about the Monday between our 2 regular sessions in September.
Bill, what's that date?
19th.
19th?
Oh, we have a
4 p.m.
That's interesting.
Meeting on the 12th.
Right, we have a meeting on the 12th and the 26th, so it would be the 19th.
And we have a work session
For us?
for 5 to 6, but I don't know why I put that in
Just
there.
knew we were going to have a work session.
Apparently.
So he's picked
Bill's
5 to 6.
clairvoyant.
So what time?
So
Like
4 to
5?
6?
I had 5 to 6, but
Can we do 4 to 6, and then we can get out of here?
Yes, please. Get out of here, kind of
Let me
thing.
double check that I can, but I think so.
You're headed for vacation.
Yeah, I'm gonna be leaving probably.
We can Zoom with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the date on that?
19th.
Yep, 19th works for me. And just because of the way that Indeed works, you'll put those resumes in our boxes?
As soon as the rubrics is ready?
Yeah.
We'll attach it to the front of each one.
Pressure's on, Ted.
I've
Pressure's
already
on.
given myself a hard time. Come on. I've had like a week.
All right. Any other questions about the town manager search at this time?
Nope.
All right. Public comments.
Yeah, I just asked the question, is there a town planner resigning, and who is the new, do we have a new planner?
We do not have a new planner at this time. So our town planner, June, is resigning. She's here through
21st.
September 21st. We're figuring out what we're going to do in her absence. Obviously, one key component of that is going to be relying on Joseph here, who thankfully we won't be completely without anybody doing planning, but it's definitely a loss.
Well, it's been a very good meeting, and thank you for your work as a citizen.
Thanks, Frank. We appreciate you.
Joe?
Oh, Joe, you got a question. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with June, she has helped the highway out in a lot of different
ways with direction, and things that have been complicated, and she's been a great asset for my department and the town, and I appreciate her mentoring Joseph here, and he's been a great help also. And second of all, with my employee Scott leaving, I had a new employee who was supposed to start today, and he didn't show. And I called, and he decided to stay where he was at. I'm still down 2 guys.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
That's it for me.
Well, all right. I would entertain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to enter non-public in accordance to RSA 91-A:3, number 2A, personnel.
Second.
Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Marianne.
Aye.
Zach, aye. Bill.
Aye.
Ted.
Aye.
All right, it is non-public time. Joseph, you can stay because you're first.